What did you have for breakfast today?
I had 3 eggs and chicken breast with a little bit of chili powder and 1 spoon of honey on top.
Honey?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think I need the sugar in the morning.
Jesus Christ. Mate, with my IBS, I only wish I could have the honey. Hey there, how you doing? My name is Jordan Michaelides and I co-founded Neuralle with my partner Lauren. We built the Uncommon podcast to interview unique individuals and investigate interesting topics, therefore allowing our community to build the quote-unquote uncommon sense crucial to increasing their intelligence. And our investigations and interviews are largely inspired by people like Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's business partner, and particularly in Charlie Munger, who always really emphasized that worldly wisdom is incredibly important, not just for entrepreneurs and investors, but for your own growth as an individual. And he always used certain quotes, and the one that I love the most is Abraham Maslow's quote, which is, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I think by saying that, what he's trying to emphasize is that if you only have a certain skill set or knowledge base, then all you will see is that cognitive bias related to that skill set or knowledge base. And therefore, you need to broaden that. So we are really trying to investigate and uncover new guests and new topics for our community. If you want to learn more, you can head to neuralle.com/podcast. I hope you enjoy. This podcast has been an experiment and we need your feedback as a subscriber. So leave us a review, make your way to learn more about the competition and prizes that we have going. That is at neuralle.com/podcast, NEURALLE. Some of the prizes include an Apple Watch 2 for all you high performers out there, a Kindle Paperwhite for you book nerds, an Amazon gift card for everyone else. You can also sign up to our, weekly brain food, which is the Monday Morsels at neuralle.com/signup. Make sure you check it out. In this episode, we recorded with Michael Jayaranjan, who's a good friend. He's always had an interest in improving his life, and he's quite a fascinating example of that fix, or the change in the fix versus the growth mindset that we constantly push at Neuralle. He's had some big changes in his life recently, including losing 20 kilos, ending a long-term relationship, and moving his mindset away from being just about consumption and buying things and having things to more about experiences. This interview, like the last one, is definitely more conversational. So I hope it's enough to convince him to do it regularly, because it'll allow us to cover performance and improvement topics more often. In terms of topics that we include, there's a recount there of his life living in Sri Lanka and the civil war that happened in that country, the contrarian mindset, why he migrated to Australia, initially changing from an ownership to a flexible lifestyle where he values more so time as opposed to money, motivation and goal setting that he developed through going to see Tony Robbins live, and who he thinks when he focuses on success. You've noticed that midway through the episode, we talk about it being the first recording or the first episode, and some of the people that we've already released episodes with are also mentioned. And we apologies for that. We had issues with some of the tracks, so we had to bump this further along, but it shouldn't impact this too much at all. Hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening. All right, we're live. Thank you, MJ, for coming.
Its name's Michael,
Michael?
but I've been known as MJ, so I'm going to keep using MJ.
Mr. Jayaranjan.
That's right. I'm from a Commonwealth country, so it's Jayaranjan. I'm a Tamil. You might have heard of the Tamil Tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't associate myself with that, but it's quite interesting to bring it up whenever I can.
Well, you're definitely not a tiger.
No, I'm not. But I'm from the same background, I would say.
Well, look, so this is the first episode of this Uncommon Sense podcast, so you're the first one off the rank, I guess.
That's right.
Unless, of course, we go back and edit this, and it turns out this is definitely not the first. But anyway, so I think we'll start with a little bit about yourself. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're good friends. We met through work to start. I just thought maybe you could get us started with telling us about who you are, maybe a bit about your background, you know, where you went to school, all that sort of soundbitey shit.
Yeah, so I'm 6'5". I'm a white Australian male. No, I'm just kidding. Look, my background is I'm a Sri Lankan. I came here when I was 19.
Yeah.
Love my upbringing because I would presume that it's a bit hardcore than your upbringing, I would say. Cause,
what do you mean?
I don't know, just using public transport there, I feel like I've achieved something. Achieved a kind of, roughness that none of you guys will have over here.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah, just that. That's the only point I have where I can trump you. The rest is, I guess, I studied economics. I was actually sent here by my parents to study accounting. Mm-hmm. But then I really liked economics because I was into conspiracy theories at the time. So this was just in 2007 and 8.
Right.
When I was, the GFC was coming along, and I was started watching documentaries like The Zeitgeist and getting into that.
Did you get into Zero Hedge? Do you know Zero Hedge?
I'm not quite familiar with all the conspiracy documentaries, but I remember getting into a few and really getting into it. And then I wanted to learn more about economics, so I changed my course as soon as I landed here and chose economics. Okay. And that was the only reason why. Yeah. Got into it, studied it, I guess, so got through it. And it wasn't hard, but it was just a lot of information, I would say. Yeah. Graduated from Monash, and, a couple years later, or I would say 5 years later, I am still in the workspace, so in the same industry where I'm, I guess, selling economic research papers. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's that for?
That's for a small firm. It's a global firm. Yeah. But they do economic research and market research. Yeah. So I'm a sales guy there. Yeah. Yeah. Or corporate solution specialist. Depends on who I'm trying to impress. Yeah.
Now, there's a few things that I wanted to touch on when it comes to your background, because you've told me some fascinating shit over the years. Now, for those who don't know anything about Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka went through a civil war, didn't it? Yep. So what was that like growing up? I remember you told me a story once about you either saw a bombing or the aftermath of it, or just shit was hectic growing up at that period of time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess when you grow up with it, you're kind of immune to it.
Like, did you see anything?
Yeah. So when I was a kid in school, we saw a bombing because my class faced the playground, and beyond the playground was where on the street was where the bomb took place. This was maybe when I was 8 and 9 years old. Right. And we saw the explosion. We saw a road sign just fly up into the air. Right. And then, of course, there was curfew, and then our parents had to come and pick us up a couple hours later. So that was one of them. And then also there's also bombings that takes place immediately after you leave a certain place. So this happened actually quite recently. Back in 2007, we were going on a road trip. Right. And 5 minutes later, on the main street, a bomb went off where we just passed through. Yeah. A bus bomb as well. So I think 30, 40 people exploded. Or I guess, got killed immediately. Wow. So there's a lot of that. And also, you can see, like, when the big bombs used to take place back in the 90s and early 2000s in the city, you can see the smoke. Or you start watching TV. That's when everyone gets into watching TV because you want to know the casualty numbers, and you're kind of, in a weird way trying to compare whether this beat the last one. Because you're young and you really don't know what this whole thing is about.
But I guess when you grow up around that, sort of, do you think it became normalized?
It did become normalized, but what I guess when I get older, I kind of question, wow, my parents really let me live through that, or they didn't kind of make a conscious decision to leave?
Yeah.
Because they could, and they still can. Or I guess now there's no point leaving because it's great, but yeah, I kind of think about that. Like, we used to use public transport when I was in school.
Nothing, yeah.
Like it was nothing. And there used to be bus bombs where buses just would be, the terrorist group will come and explode the bus. And these are just normal buses.
Yeah.
So a lot of those as well. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I was going to say, so, because this, I mean, the whole thing that happened in Sri Lanka was that it was a group of people, the Tamils. Well, maybe you can tell us what was the whole civil war based on, and therefore all of these bombings. Like, why would they go down to? It was Colombo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That you lived. So Colombo, capital Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? Or what brought the war to that point where this was normal, and this was happening on a frequent enough basis? Right.
First of all, I'm no expert in this field, but to give you some background, it was when the British were back in Sri Lanka in the early 90s, and there were a lot of Tamils who held strong government positions in the British, monarchy and the ruling as well. So after there was a claim for independence, there was a little bit of racism in terms of, why is there Tamils in all these high positions?
Right.
And the reason was, I guess, the Tamils were, could associate and work with the British more easily because of their language skills, and they, I think, traveled back and forth as well. So there was a little bit of, anger. So they removed these chaps from these positions for no reason at all, and they instilled Sinhalese as the main language for the country, and it was English before, so they made it a national language.
So who's they? Who did that?
So that was the government at the time.
Oh, okay.
And it was Bandaru Naika, if I'm not mistaken. His daughter was president later as well during the 90s.
Right.
So I guess that created that whole division of, the Tamils and the Sinhalese, because the Tamils all of a sudden needed to learn in Sinhalese. There was no middle ground. And they made the whole government administration in Sinhalese. So that's just taking an English administration and then completely changing the language so that no one can understand if you're not a Sinhalese.
Yeah.
So even till today, most government organizations run through Sinhalese, but they make it multilingual as well. And it's improving now. And now it's more of, I guess, a multicultural society when it comes to government. But before, so that, I guess, created the angst. And then there was, little political movements happening in the north.
Yeah.
And that's how the Tamil Tigers, I guess, came through.
Right.
And then, they wanted their share. They wanted to rule the north. So they fought for it.
Yeah.
And 30 years later, until the guy who ran it was killed, it went on. And as soon as he got killed, it stopped.
Really?
Yeah. So it's quite interesting how one person has that power.
That is really interesting because, I mean, I don't know if you have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
I mean, terrorism, in my opinion, is one of the most ineffective ways of... I mean, it's a political platform. You're doing it. It's almost always for politics. They're always doing it for a political reason. They have a certain situation that they want to change for themselves, this group, whoever it may be, in any country, or maybe even globally. Now, when it comes to things like ISIS, it's interesting that a lot of people say that they would not be affected by that. Let's say if you killed the head of their, organization, al-Baghdadi or whatever his name is, total fucking nut job. They say that would not at all affect them. I mean, what's your opinion on terrorism as a whole? Like, from someone who grew up around it, just watching it, it was very apparent in your life, obviously growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. You kind of don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
But then, when it happens, you've got to live with it. And you kind of pray that one day this will stop.
Yeah.
It did stop in Sri Lanka, which is really interesting how, back in 2009, there was a real offense to get rid of it. And they did it. There was a lot of, casualties in the mix as well. I think the numbers are around 40,000 towards the end. Just towards the end as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's funny whether, you kind of, I guess, because what they fought for is interesting as well.
Yeah.
I really don't know the details of what they were fighting for, but you can see that they were fighting for some kind of, hold for land and also to run their own administration, which they did because they controlled the north for a couple of years. And they ran it quite interestingly as well. Because I've traveled when I was a kid. My uncles used to come down on holidays and they used to take us because my parents would never let us travel into those areas. So they used to take us on road trips. We'd get into a van, me, my sister, some of my cousins, and we would go into these areas and then go stay with a relative who lived in those areas. And it's interesting how these kids... So I've seen child soldiers.
Yeah. Really?
They would check our bags. They would laugh.
How old?
They would have been maybe 12.
Fuck.
Yeah, 9. But they would do admin duties there. So they would check the bags. They would just hang around there with little ponytails. These girls with ponytails on two sides. And look, the interesting part is because... Like, I'm from the city, but my parents would have been, back in the north. And they might be just a couple of relatives away. Or, a couple of, I don't think it's a far reach of me and them. We're just in different places at different times.
Yeah.
And I could see that. And that was strong.
Yeah.
And I still see that when I go to weddings and, family events. Where it's like, the distance between us and them... or the group in the north would have been that far. And that's interesting how they had that fight in them. And here I'm running away from things, I guess,
So are your family, are you Tamil or are you Sinhalese?
So we're Tamil.
Yeah.
We're not from any kind of background to do with terrorism, I guess. We were government... I think my grandparents were government servants.
Right.
On my dad's side. And then my dad's, I just lived the corporate life in the capital city.
Right.
So he moved, I think, after uni. Or not even uni, I think after school, they just moved around.
Right. Was there any effect to the way that people treated each other when there was that massive switch from being a Tamil-driven government to a Sinhalese-driven government?
Well, so that would have been in the 40s and 50s. I don't think it was a Tamil-driven government, but there was Tamil influence in the government.
Right.
So that changed to a Sinhalese government.
Yeah.
But this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's been that consistently since then. There's not a lot of Tamil representation. There is Tamil representation now through minority parties. It's interesting what they do. But then again, you've got... I guess it's only... 10 to 15% of the population that are Tamils there. But it's created this angst for the last couple of decades. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, it's one of those areas that totally fascinated me because when, how old have I been? About 17, I went to school with a girl that, I did this like fashion class. It was like Certificate 3, one of those... weird certificate classes you can do in high school because I thought I wanted to be a designer or something.
Were you watching The Hills at the time? Was The Hills on?
Honestly, I think it might have been.
Might have been. Because I consider that.
Isn't
I
that
watched
funny?
The Hills, and then I watched... I went and Googled this LA fashion school.
Really?
And it was like, I think 20-30 grand a year. And I was like, man, maybe I should convince my parents to send me here.
Dude, that reminds me. I had this whole period where I was really into like luxury and fashion goods over like and working in that area. I remember there was... there's a family I know and they run Watches of Switzerland. I know the eldest son has done it, but there was a degree I was looking at. It was like business in a bachelor in high fashion business or something like that.
Right.
And I wanted to work for Louis Vuitton, Moe Hennessy Group and all that stuff. That was when I was really getting into wine. But anyway, we'll come back.
So how old was this?
I would have been about 17.
Okay.
So I did this class with this girl, and yeah, she obviously told me about what had happened. She was half Sri Lankan, so she was actually quite white, so you wouldn't have guessed it.
Or a coconut.
Is that what they say? A coconut.
So brown on the outside, white on the inside.
No, I'd say white on the outside, brown on the inside.
How would she?
She was definitely a white girl.
Oh, but she was brown on the inside.
I don't know.
Don't call her that, mate.
Anyway, I don't know how it works. Don't ask me. But if that's indirectly racist, I apologise.
Apologise to her. You just call her brown on the inside. I think she'll take that well.
So anyway, she told me about it, and then because I was a fiend always for looking through Wikipedia, so I went and looked about it. It fascinated me because it's one of those things that, you know, when you grow up in this middle class easy lifestyle, and then you start seeing things about civil wars and whatnot, it's totally fascinating because you're like, fuck, how could these people hate each other so much?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was quite interesting to me. Now, you mentioned something before about conspiracies. Why conspiracies, or what about conspiracies have always intrigued you? Because just to prefix, for myself, I've always been fascinated with Zero Hedge. Is like a commerce blog,
right?
You know Tyler Durden?
No.
From Fight Club, the movie.
Right. Okay. The producer?
No. So I'm pretty sure that's pretty sure Tyler Durden is the character that Brad Pitt plays.
Right. Okay.
He's not actually a real person. Anyway, he's that pseudonym is what the person who run, or the people who run Zero Hedge, that's their name.
Right.
Anyway, so they've always really been into underground, like, you know, gold is the only thing to be placing your money in, you know, New World Order type shit. Just looking at things differently, like, the central banks are lying, all that sort of stuff. So it's just a contrarian view of, I guess, economics. And that fascinated me because obviously when the GFC hit 2007-8, and then you see all this turmoil, that sort of stuff can definitely intrigue you.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what... I'd say my trigger point was probably the GFC, and thinking maybe they're not really telling us the truth here, or just having that intrigue to want to dig deeper.
The trigger point.
Yeah. So what interested you in conspiracy sort of stuff, particularly related to economics back then?
Good question. I think it was Fahrenheit 9/11.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So I watched that,
Yeah.
and then I watched how all these things kind of connected with each other.
Yeah.
And then I got into those other documentaries that then linked 9/11 to it as well.
Right.
And then that's how I went down. But there was one documentary on... is it Blackwater, the private mercenary?
No, I know what you're talking
Bridgewater.
about.
No, it's Blackwater.
Is it Blackwater?
But BlackRock, one of them.
BlackRock is the funds management
Okay,
business.
so it's Blackwater then.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Because it's funny you mentioned... Do you think that 9/11 was a conspiracy still? After you saw that? So you tell me you watched that and you were convinced that it was a conspiracy.
It's a great question.
Or at least that it made you question things, right?
Yeah, it made me question things. It made me question the big things.
Okay.
Like, you know, when something happens in a worldwide scale, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. How did this happen?
Right.
Maybe this is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me question things after.
Yeah.
But I was naive until I was, I guess, 21.
Same.
Yeah.
Totally naive until, I'd left uni and gone traveling.
Yeah, okay.
Do you think it's more you just want to have insight? Have an edge? Or have the knowledge?
I guess have an edge, yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to know more than everyone else, so I would go dive into these things.
Right.
The reason why I mentioned the private mercenary, is it Blackwater?
It is. So it's called Inside Blackwater, Iraq's most controversial private military.
There we are. So I watched that, and I remember
I've seen the documentary. That is fascinating.
That is fascinating. Yeah. So I watched that. I started watching it at maybe 4 a.m.
Okay.
I remember this day, and because in Sri Lanka it's really humid and warm.
Right.
So sometimes in the night I can't fall asleep.
Okay.
And I had a computer in my room, so I would just watch documentaries throughout, or music videos or whatever.
Yeah.
And my mom used to always come in the night and be like, go to sleep. And I would, okay, fine, I'll go to sleep. Then I'll put my headphones on and still watch a documentary.
Yeah.
And I remember this, so I started watching it at around 4 or 5, and I finished at 6:30. And that was when my parents were up and they were having breakfast. And I was just like...
Mind blown.
Yeah. And I was walking around and being like, you guys don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I used to do the same thing. And it's funny because I just had this conversation with my sister about it.
Yeah.
I was like... You get to that period, like when you're 18 to 22, let's say, and you're just getting all of this knowledge. Like, I would say when I finished high school was when I realised and got to uni, I realised how ignorant I was.
That's right.
And then, through that ignorance, you also think you're the most enlightened person.
Yeah.
Because you go and see all these documentaries which are coming out at certain points of time about specific topics.
Yeah.
And then... you're all of a sudden become really educated or relatively educated in the topic, and then you want to start talking to heaps of people about it.
Yeah.
Like, the example with my sister, she's really into vegetarianism.
Right.
So she's watched Cowspiracy and all these vegetarian-related documentaries. So she's under the dogma of that.
Okay.
Right? And I think my dogma back then was contrarian economics. I remember, like, for a period of 3 years... it was always, the same thing. Going to my parents. I remember going to family events, speaking to my uncles, and being, because they're really into economics and trading and whatnot, and just being like, "You've got no idea.
Yeah,
you have no idea what's
you have
going
no
on.
idea what's going on. You're gonna lose everything.
Yeah, you're gonna lose everything." And then it's funny because are you finding now that 3 years later you're like, "Oh, it didn't actually eventuate."
Yeah, I think I was talking to my mom about buying gold bars.
Oh fuck, that's one of the things. Yeah.
Or even not recently, maybe about 5 years ago, about keeping stuff in gold.
Yeah.
And I would have these conversations, and I was like, "You need to protect things."
Yeah.
And it's very interesting how I wish, in a weird way, that I didn't go through uni, so that maybe if I left my brain at that stage and just kept learning and exploring things from that angle, where it would have taken me.
Yeah.
Because imagine if I don't have, or if I didn't have the stability I have now, and I was just that wild child doing crazy things and exploring things.
Yeah.
Because I would do it. I would do crazy things when I was younger. Not crazy, but out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Like I played in a metal band when I was younger.
Yeah, so tell us about, let's go to that.
Yeah.
I had to know here to go over music. You've always, for me, I came from a family that didn't necessarily play music, but my grandparents were really into classical music. Mm-hmm. So I played saxophone, keyboard, all that for about 8 years.
Yeah.
So what is it that triggered your interest in music? And you obviously continue with it now.
Yeah.
You're super passionate about your FLAC files and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think I can afford it now.
Yeah.
Where I can be really anal about what I hear. But before, so my dad used to play a lot of music when we were young, on vinyl and tapes. We used to have cassettes.
Okay.
At the time, and he still has those collections back, and I'm like, keep it, don't throw it away. He doesn't use it, but I'm like, one day I'm going to take it and add it to my little collection, because that's something I'd like him to give it to me, or like a handout.
Those sorts of things are really special.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's still got the great stuff that I listen to, so that's the best part of it.
Yeah.
And so he played a lot, and then my sister used to go for piano classes in the neighborhood, and then my mom signed me up when I was 6 for piano lessons.
Really?
until I think I did piano lessons till I was 11.
Really?
Yeah, and I was shit.
Did you hate it?
I hated it because I didn't learn what I wanted to learn, and it was classical music.
That's one of the worst things I find about learning.
Yeah.
Is like you're forced to do things that you just don't want to do. Like,
don't want to do, yeah. And this lady, lovely lady, we'd do the same scales. I can still play scales with my eyes closed because I've learned it.
Yeah.
But I never learned the songs I wanted to play, or it was just classical. And I didn't really grow at all from that. I learned the basics. I could read, write music, and I learned all that. But nothing really, intrigued me to keep going in terms of piano lessons. We had a piano at home, so that's why. And I would never practice at home.
Yeah.
Never go above and beyond. And then later on, I don't know how I got onto the guitar. Yeah, I think I had this conversation where I wanted to learn the guitar, and my dad was like,
"Okay, we'll get you one."
No, it wasn't that. Like, I know a guy from work who plays in a band, who is willing to come and teach you. And I was like, sweet. And then he used to bring this guitar, and he would come and he'd play this song, Hotel California. And he'd just show off for about an hour, and I'm just sitting there being like, wow, I want this, I want this, I want that. And then he just kept going and going and going. And then eventually it came to a point where my dad was like, well, now you need a guitar. And my dad was like, we'll just buy that guitar that he was playing. So we bought the coach's guitar off him.
Right.
And that's how I learned to play.
Yeah.
So we bought an electric guitar at the start.
Okay.
And now, again, my dad was like, I needed an amp. And my dad used to, he's from the phase where he made anything that he could.
Right.
So speakers in the house, he made. Amps.
Really?
He made. Because it's kind of easy if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So he would make these little things. So we had all our speakers in the house were all hand built by him, except one pair. So we sat together, and he would bring this distortion pedal, the PCBs, you call them printed circuit boards.
Yeah.
And he would make the boards according to whatever he can copy, and buy the transistors. And I used to remember going to the store with him, these electronic stores, where it's just a couple of cents for these transistors and resistors, and we'd look at the colors and we'd buy this and for the amps and the different kind of pedals that we want to create sounds with. And we built these couple of things throughout the time. So I didn't actually have an amp till I was, I think, 14. So 2 years of hand-built amps, which was really special now. So I would carry it to school in suitcases, briefcases.
Really?
Yeah. So he had briefcases, and we'd put the amp in that. So we'll put the speaker, and then we'll have a pedal.
How big was this amp? Like this thin, this tall?
No, it's just a speaker, and then the amp modules are built in different things.
Right.
So it was like this homemade thing that I had.
Right.
Looking back at it, that's really special.
Yeah.
To be like, we did homemade shit.
That's cool, man.
And not just spend money on things.
Yeah.
Eventually we got a Fender amp. Someone was selling something, and then we got it. But that's how I started. And I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
I just really wanted to play. And there was this one song, I think it was Smells Like Teen Spirit that got me into rock. And that's how I really wanted to pick up the guitar, and I wanted to learn how to play Smells Like Teen Spirit on the guitar. And then I'd talk to my sister's friends who'd show me, and then, because that's the age where you start hanging out with your sister's friends.
Yeah.
My sister was 5 years older than me, so she would have just been 18 at the time, or 17, 18.
Okay.
So hanging out with all of them, they were, I guess, a little bit older. Some of them played guitar as well, so that kind of thing. And also in Sri Lanka, there wasn't an age where you can't go for a rock concert. So by 12, 13, we were at rock concerts, in clubs and in all these rock shows.
So how did it then segue into liking, because you were in a metal band?
Yeah.
We've seen, me and some of your other mates, we've seen some of the videos.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I guess, so I started off wanting to be in a band, I guess. I found a guy who could sing, And then we started, playing around, found other guys who can play, and then we formed this alternative band around 15. And then we were going through school competitions at the time, so they would have a lot of things. So every month the school will have something where they require some kind of talent, so we'd go play for that.
Right.
And then through online forums, you meet other young guys doing bands, and then you go practice with them. And one of these guys were looking for a bassist, and I didn't know a lot of bass.
Right.
But I knew that I can play those songs. But I wasn't good enough for the lead guitar, but I was good enough for being a bass guitarist.
Really?
For them.
What's the difference? As in, obviously, it's a totally different instrument, but why?
So I just wanted to be in that band, I guess, and I could play a little bit of bass of whatever that they required.
Right.
So I started practicing with them. Till today, he's one of my great mates. Real simple guys, but through that stage where, we're going to sing metal songs and be really hardcore and wear swastika t-shirts and walk around in Colombo, like we knew what was going on. Literally, we had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's how I ventured into a metal band. Played, I guess, only a couple of gigs.
Yeah.
And then I took, and then we formed this real serious band after that, which was called Surface to Air Missiles.
Okay.
That was my pride and joy. It still is, in a weird way, because the guys who I played with still play in Colombo.
Right.
And they're one of the best bands there. So it's like, maybe I could have had that.
Yeah.
I don't think I had the skill level at the time to do that, but it's interesting.
So you think that if you'd continued improving, you could have been doing that?
I could have been doing that, and that would make me so happy in a weird way.
It's not a good mindset to have, is it?
But I guess to answer your question, it was all just to impress girls.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
From the age of 12, just consistently impress chicks.
Yeah.
You've got to find that niche.
Honestly, I think a lot of the things that young boys do when they try and focus on a certain thing, it can be for that, or it can just be, they're totally intrigued. But either they're trying to impress someone. They're trying to externalize it. I know that a lot of the things that I got interested in, I was always first to impress my dad.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I can agree with that.
Yeah.
That's what would have been the driving force.
Yeah, I would say my dad as well.
You reckon?
Because just to give you the Am story, so after the biggest, I guess, show that we played. So we played, I think, in front of 5,000 people. We came to the finals there.
Really?
And my parents came for that. And then, so that was the biggest show we did. And then after that, my dad gave me some money and he's like, get whatever you want for the band.
Really?
Right? And it was, I had to go through that age until I was like 16, 17 to be like, for him to say, okay, now we can, spend some money on this.
Oh.
Yeah. So till then I was playing with all these guitars I'd buy for $100 and $200. What I found a great one towards the end where I picked up this Japanese guitar for about $200, and I still have it till this day because it's it's well made.
Yeah.
So that was my phase until that particular event, which was, I think it was called On Stage. It's a big event. They still have us. If you Google 2007 On Stage finalist, you'll still see like pictures and music and news articles and things like that.
Yeah.
And that group of friends that we made during that year are still the closest friends that I have.
Okay.
Which is weird.
Do these guys, they all live in Sri Lanka?
Some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them came here for uni and then went back as well.
Right.
But we still have that connection.
Yeah.
So even if we meet after 3-4 years, it's like nothing's ever changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask you a couple of specific questions. So, what made you come to Australia? So why did you come here and not just... Because you were speaking before about most of your mates are back in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
What would have happened if you'd still been there? Why did you not stay, do your uni there and decided to come here? And why not the UK or the US?
Yeah, I guess it was a natural...
Like, do most people who have money that live in Sri Lanka come to Australia?
I wouldn't say money. I would say if you are inclined to study overseas...
Right.
You shortlist the UK, the US, and Australia.
Right.
And then you kind of decide where your friends going,
Okay.
And that's a major influence as well.
Yeah.
I was dating a girl at the time, and she eventually came as well. So
Right.
we joined up maybe 6 months apart.
Okay.
So I guess there was a lot of influences that made me choose Australia.
Right.
But it's not like I've been here before.
Yeah.
It was just hearsay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it was mainly your friends were coming here.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll
Fuck, yeah. There's like 40 people coming next year and a couple of going to the US.
Yeah.
Well, where do you want to go? We'll go where the majority is going.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
ever think about how your life would have been if you'd lived, if you'd gone to, say, the States or the UK?
I think the States uni life would have been much more fun.
Yeah.
Here it was interesting because I guess we had to go through the hard times as well.
Yeah.
But it's good. Look, I wouldn't not tell anyone not to come here.
Yeah.
But I would say come here and come with the goal to kill it and not just to see what happens.
Yeah. So come here and make something of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
You've got to come with that kind of attitude. I don't think I had that attitude when I came here.
Yeah.
But after a couple of years later, I kind of
You realised it.
realized that you either push for it or you don't.
Yeah.
You give up and you go. Because we've got that safety net where we can just be like, all right, I'm out. As long as we have a grant for like a plane
A
ticket
flight
back,
back, you're gone.
we're good.
Yeah.
Like we can just give up on everything and just be like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I really don't want that
Yeah.
to ever happen.
Of course, I don't
Yeah.
think. I think that a lot of people. I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes
Yeah.
I get a bit sick of Australia.
Yeah.
But every time I go away, I realise how lucky we are to be.
It
here.
is good here. It is
Like,
great here.
it's just- life is just too easy. Yeah.
This is great.
Like if you've got a little bit of grit and you're willing to work hard.
Yeah.
Here, you cannot not do reasonably well.
Correct.
Like-
That's the interesting part.
Like, if you're reasonably smart and you want to work hard, you can do well.
That's right.
Now, when it comes to music, what's your current mood? Not mood, but who are the people that you look up to music-wise? Because I know you're really into Frank Ocean and John Mayer.
Yeah. Look, Franco.
Because I just want you to correct the record, that you're not still into your heavy metal music.
No, I'm not. I listen to it and I wonder why these people are still angry.
Yeah. Are
But
they mainly angry?
I don't know. I think they just do it for fun.
Right.
They know that that's the genre and they just keep going. Because I feel like music is one of those things where you grow into things and grow out of things.
Yeah.
And I feel like these bands don't because they're commercially successful in that certain genre. But certain artists and certain solo singer-songwriters will dive into genres and back out of genres.
Yeah.
One of those guys is, I guess, John Mayer. Since I was 15, 16, I guess the first song ever that really captured me was Your Body's a Wonderland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like, what a cheeky song
Yeah.
when you're young
Yeah.
to sing to a girl.
Yeah.
And I, again, really complex on the guitar, so I would still, try to learn it at that age and try to, figure it out and be like, if I learn this, life will be smooth because I'll just bring it out and play it and, all good things will happen beyond that.
Yeah.
So it was that. And then my sister bought this CD called Continuum when I was probably 16. And that was, till today, one of my favorite albums. And he just celebrated, I think, 10 years.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
You saw that Instagram photo?
Yeah, that Instagram
That
photo.
was so sick.
And that was, so 10 years of having your favorite album exactly the same.
Yeah.
And even yesterday, I watched like a couple of live clips of him just, going at it with those old songs.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys where he transitions in and out of phases and genres, but he's still so good and just the raw emotion where you can feel it if you know what you're listening to. And that's what I like about the Melbourne busking scene as well.
Right.
Where if you know your music, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you can just sit there and zone out and you know what he's playing and you appreciate it for that.
Yeah.
You're not appreciating that there's 50 people, giving you money or there's only one person standing there. And sometimes I'm that one person standing there because I kind of connect with the guy who's playing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, keep going. This is excellent. That's interesting. And that's one of the greatest gifts that I've received, I guess, from my parents, which was the appreciation of music. Because if I didn't have that, I would be a very angry person.
You reckon?
Yeah, because what else do I have to actually enjoy my life with and zone out with?
Maybe.
Yeah?
You might have just been more into something else.
Maybe more into something else, but
Yeah.
I'm so glad that it was music.
Yeah.
And the ability to understand different types of music, different genres, the ability to play, watching other guitarists, kill it, and I'm the only person in the room knowing that they're killing it except them.
Yeah.
That's one of those feelings that you can never get.
Yeah.
Watching a guitarist smirk mid-solo, and you know that he knows it, and you know it, and
Yeah.
maybe someone else knows it, but those kind of moments.
It's interesting, is it? Because I find music is an interesting topic. Like, you either know it really well, and you can really appreciate it,
Yeah.
or you don't know it at all.
You don't know it.
Like, I was very lucky that I grew up and learnt music. I've always been more the type to appreciate the sound of music
Yeah.
as opposed to lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
So I get really euphoric when I hear really dense songs that come from cinematic, electronic, orchestral type
Right.
music. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you find about music, but I just get that real, that feeling, when you got the hairs on your back.
Yeah, the goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I live for those goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because if a song can give me multiple goosebumps, or if I'm watching something or a live video that comes on, the more goosebumps, the better. Yeah. Because, I get that.
Yeah.
It can be through a smart-ass lyric, or it can just be a certain bass line. You're just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best thing about music. Any genre, any topic, and you might get it, you might not get it.
Yeah.
But if you can get it most of the time, you've got a good repertoire in your head where you can, appreciate it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that repertoire in their head. They can't go in and out of genres, or they can't go beyond.
Yeah, I agree. A
certain
lot of
other-
people are very,
Yeah.
focused on a specific genre. I always find that weird.
Yeah.
Although the only genre I can't appreciate is heavy metal.
Right.
It's weird. Maybe I just don't understand the skill required of the
Correct.
guitar. But
It's the
screaming because
Oh,
I'm
right.
all about a sound. I'm all about sound.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of
Maybe
those
you
things
weren't
bugs me.
that angry when you were younger.
No, maybe not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It's weird how people get so focused on one type of music. But
Yeah.
you've mentioned this a couple times. Your parents.
Yeah.
I always really like focusing on this because Anthony Robbins likes to focus on this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins, whatever you want to call him. But I'm pretty sure I've asked you this question before. But what's a lesson that you've learnt from either of your parents, whether it's directly, so they've told you that lesson, or indirectly, and something that you've held with you your whole life?
Oh. That's a good question. I would say my dad would never be concerned in terms of any decision that I make. He's very supportive,
Yeah.
and that is a very powerful thing to have behind you.
Yeah.
Especially because when I was younger, I think I kind of needed his attention a lot in weird things, in weird ways. But now, if I kind of indicate to him that I might head a certain direction in terms of something, he's very supportive, and that is something that I really appreciate. Even when I told him that I was going for Tony Robbins, which was quite interesting, and I knew that he's not that kind of person because he's more of a scientific, literature-proven person, where
Right.
if it's proven, then it works.
Yeah.
But I explained to him that I'm just going to get a little bit of motivation and control my different states that I can be in, and he was very supportive of it, and he said, look, I hope that you come out with something that you wanted to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I feel that those kind of things are really powerful because in the end you've got them.
Yeah.
That's the way I think about it. As a single guy now as well, I've only got them now.
Yeah.
To kind of have that real core support that you need.
Yeah.
Especially, I guess, I'm in my late 20s now, so yeah. And my mom, she's got that always on my side
Right.
which was interesting. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like having a cheerleader who's always on your side.
Yeah.
So that is also very powerful.
So the biggest thing you've learned is support.
Yeah, I appreciate that support.
Yeah.
Because you don't see that support when you're younger.
Yeah. No,
You're just
never
like,
do.
why are you shouting at me?
Yeah,
Why aren't you buying me this?
Yeah.
Or how come my sister gets to do this and I don't get to do this? You kind of always compare your life with someone else's life.
Yeah.
But when you get older, you kind of appreciate that those hard yards or those tough decisions that they had to make were all for the good.
Yeah.
And it created, I guess, the want in me to go achieve things.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess those are the two takings.
Okay.
Which is the cheerleader on your side, which is my mom.
Yeah.
And my dad just, not having an opinion or a strong opinion on things and supporting me.
Yeah.
Because I've gone through very interesting stages in my life where I needed that support.
Yeah.
And it was big turns. I'm talking 360 or 180 turns, heading in a direction with a lot of momentum and be like, nah, I'm going to take another route now.
Yeah.
So their support is, I guess, what I
Have learned.
have learned.
Yeah. Now, what are there any? What do you think have been the most? And maybe we've already touched on this.
Yeah.
What do you think have been the most formative experiences in your life, or like inflection points? Like, I wonder, maybe you could fill us in on this story, but I always remember that story you tell me about that robbery at Subway. You used to work at Subway.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested to know if you have any like key inflection points in your life where, your opinion or your mindset has been totally changed 360.
Yeah. I would say playing in front of 5,000 people was... No. Before playing in front of 5,000, I think we played in front of 2,000 kids.
Yeah.
And we played Edwin McCain's I'll Be, a cover song of a romantic song. And the crowd sang with us, and there were more girls shouting at us like when we were on stage. This was at 15 years old, right?
Yeah.
Than I've ever heard in my life since then.
Really?
And that was an inflection point, being like, Michael, keep doing this.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because this is good.
Yeah.
That was one of those points where I guess, I wanted to keep doing it. Another point was when I became Rotaract president. So this is like your little... it's not little, actually. It's. Have you heard of Rotary in Australia?
Yeah.
So those Rotary clubs have Rotaract when you're a bit younger.
Okay.
And I was a president at my college for that.
Right.
And that leadership position was clearly through networking myself, through the right people, and also doing things that are... and implementing things. So if I had an idea, I would go do it. So I had an idea for a paintball tournament.
Yeah.
No one wanted to play paintball because it was a bit expensive. Paintball just launched in Sri Lanka, and it was like, why would we spend so much on paintball? And then we played it for like 5 minutes because the guy who wanted to, or who had the paintball place said, come play first. We played it and we was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Right.
Because I feel like I'm going to die, but I'm going to kill someone at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? And then I organized that, and it went really well, and people had the greatest time ever.
Yeah.
And I networked myself around those people as well. And then I had another party called Bree Foos, which eventually means free booze. So we'll take a cover charge. I think it was like $15.
Yeah.
And we supplied all alcohol as well.
Really?
And that went crazy. That was one of those parties where there were really interesting things that were happening, and then there were fights later on that I had to control,
Right.
even though I wasn't there, because I had to go home and finish an assignment after midnight.
Really?
Because it was due the next day. So the next day after that, I was pulled into all these, conversations about fights, and with the CEO, because he got pulled into a fight as well. And it was, I don't think we ever had another party where there was free booze, with a bunch of uni students.
Wow.
Yeah, because we supplied the alcohol. We figured the right point where if we have 100 people,
Yeah.
we'll need 50 bottles of alcohol.
Okay.
And that would be the sweet spot where no one would, complain.
Fights, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll still make money off it.
Right.
Yeah, and then it wasn't 50 bottles of alcohol for 100 people. It's like way too much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that's half a bottle of alcohol per person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is back at uni,
This is back at uni.
Yeah.
This was back in Sri Lanka as well. So that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, I'm in the room with the CEO of a company.
Yeah.
So I can create that situation.
Yeah.
Another moment was, I guess, when I came to Australia and when I got robbed at Subway at knife point.
Yeah.
I was...
So you started working at Subway?
Yeah, my ex at the time, it was her first shift.
Oh.
I was working night shift all the years before that. And it was her first shift, and I was teaching her how to wrap the bread.
Yeah.
And two guys walked in with, bandanas covering their face, and they had a knife.
Right.
And she screamed, and I just told her to come behind me.
Yeah.
So I walked in front of her, and she was right behind me holding me, and then the guy was like, give me all the money. And then I was like, I opened the till, and I took the money out, and then I asked him, do you want the 5 cents as well?
Yeah.
Because I've got to scoop it now.
Yeah.
The 5 cents, and I don't think they want to waste time with that, right?
Yeah.
And then he just got more aggressive.
Really?
And then he's like, "Where's the safe?"
Okay.
And I was like, "The safe is open because we don't have any cash."
Yeah.
And then that's that point in my life where I started laughing.
Now, just let me stop you there. Just as a caveat for everyone else, MJ has this thing where in certain conversations he'll just start laughing.
Yeah.
Even though it's really not apparent, when it's just a serious conversation.
Yeah. It's I think it's my go-to move when I don't know what to do anymore.
Right.
Just rather. And they got annoyed.
Really?
They were like, "Why the fuck are you laughing?"
Yeah.
Right? And it was all on video as well. And then when the police came and checked the video, they were like, did this guy just get his friends to rob him? Because this seems like he's enjoying this. And then they took us to the back of the store.
Really?
And they were like, where's the money at? And I was like, there's really no money. And that's that point where I was like, fuck, I'm going to get stabbed.
Really?
Because it was at that point. But I was also looking at things that I can take and hit him back with, but I didn't do it yet. And then they just ran away.
Right.
And
So what, they just bolted?
They just bolted because they had the money by then. And they bolted and they ran away. And by that time, I hit the silent switch. So that was 6 cop cars after that. I was feeling really special.
Yeah.
Because, that kind of attention, again, you created that. That's the way I was thinking. I've created this. There's 6 cars here, cops asking me questions.
Yeah.
I'm like the shift manager of the store, so I'm answering all these questions. They're looking through video. Detectives come, dogs come. I was
Really?
like, this is sweet. Because it's almost like
But
armed robbery.
All that effort for the armed robbery, though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does
Because it's armed robbery. That's
Right.
the thing. If it was just a guy asking for money, it's different. This guy, and especially because he took us to the back, and they called in all the
Right,
cops.
so they're probably thinking, well, they've done this.
Yeah.
So what could the next one look
What?
like?
Yeah. So
If they take him to the back again, and it
Yeah.
gets even more heated.
Correct.
Or if they're just screwed on drugs.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, but they also it was in a suburb, right? So they also know that these guys are on foot. So there's a good chance of actually catching them now.
Right.
Because these guys are just stereotypical,
Druggies.
druggies that were
Bogans.
hanging there. I wouldn't say bogans. I would not put any kind of profile on them just to
But you said
be
drugs.
safe. Yeah, I mean they take drugs, which is different. But I wouldn't put any descriptions on them. I know how they look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then they went looking for them in cars,
Okay.
and at that point I was thinking, give this up, do something else, or come back to work the next day. And I decided to come back to work the next day, and I did
Really?
the same shift.
How did you rationalize it?
I don't know.
You just did it.
I just did it.
Yeah.
And after that day, I had no problems talking to people that I didn't know who had more power than me.
Right.
I was not afraid.
Yeah. And so before that, you're saying that
I was like a little
Scaredy cat.
A little scary cat. Not scary cat, just no confidence.
Right.
Like, I would not talk to anyone.
Interesting.
Someone would say, hey, how you doing? I'd be like, yeah, okay, good. And not really get into conversations.
Right.
Because I was not interested in doing well, I guess. I was just interested in getting by.
Yeah.
But after that incident, I felt that I've got to go.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because you could lose your life kind of then and there.
Right.
So that was one of those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good moment. I actually wish that not wish, but I'm glad that it happened.
Yeah, of course.
Because otherwise it would have my life would have been very different.
Yeah.
Even though it's not an opportunity, it's just a moment where it shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it just changes your mindset.
Correct.
So do you think there's been any other important inflection points in your life so far?
Oh, yeah. A lot. Especially recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's boring. You don't want to get into all that.
Oh, really?
It's more about... I'll give you the gist of the story. It's more about I'll be in a situation and I'll be thoroughly enjoying it. I might get goosebumps or something, or I'll learn a lesson from it. And it's like I walk out of that incident being like, yeah, I've created that. That happened because I was in that space and I created that moment.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing because that validates every moment that I want to create in the future as well.
Yeah.
Because I would just want to creating those moments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any do you have any principles or, things that you feel guide your decision making, your thinking, your trajectory in life? Like, are there any specific things? Because, like, as an example, I'm really into using principles,
Right.
that sort of guide my decision making.
Right.
When I come to certain situations.
Okay.
Do you have anything like that?
I have a new principle, which is, will I have fun?
Okay. And how do you measure it?
It just depends.
Right. Is it like, a hell yeah or nah, this is just not...
This is not what the downtime or the negative energy that I might feel.
Yeah.
That's a very recent thing. But career-wise, of course, I'll make decisions in terms of, will it push me? Will it make me uncomfortable?
Right.
So it's completely different.
Yeah.
So in my career, I'm not like, will I have fun? That's different.
Right.
In my career, it's more like, will it push me? Will I learn something? And will it make me uncomfortable? Because if it makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to learn something from that. In my personal life, it's, will I have fun?
Right.
Because I want to create a lot of moments where I can have fun.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm like a chameleon where I can, have fine wine with you at a nice bar, and then a couple of hours later be at a dirty R&B club, trying to be a thug.
Yeah.
All in a day.
Yeah.
Okay? But I can do that.
Yeah.
And I like the ability that I have, I guess, created that I can actually do that.
Yeah. It's interesting because they're very simple principles.
Yeah. Oh,
Very
what is
simple.
that principle, I guess? Is it?
Well, a principle might be like, an example would be, I will only choose, let's say for my personal life, I will only focus on experiences.
Okay.
As opposed to always just spending money on shit.
Right.
So every time I come to a situation where I'm evaluating the result, I'm like, is it going to be an awesome experience? Even if it costs money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But is it going to be an awesome experience? Or am I just spending money for the sake of it?
Right.
That's one example.
Yeah.
Some people are different. They may be, if they're in a business. I know I was watching, I don't know if you know Casey Neistat, but he's like the most famous blogger on YouTube. And he has his general principle that is, will this thing push my business forward?
Right.
That's literally what he asks. No, he's got two. It's, will this thing push my business forward?
Yeah.
Or will this provide me with an experience with my family or my loved ones?
Right.
That's one of the ones that I have as well.
Right.
And so if it doesn't, he's like, no.
Okay.
So It's interesting and seeing that play out, and how they focus on certain things, and they get given these opportunities. And you're like, why aren't they doing that? And they're like, and then it sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, I like to see what sort of principles guide people, because maybe others can replicate it themselves.
That's true.
I feel that a lot of people just sort of flow through life, doing rudimentary stuff because it's what society pushes upon them.
Yep.
Or they don't have really anything guiding them, so they'll just waste time on X activity which they give up after a year.
Correct.
So,
I'll give you an example, because you mentioned spending money and having these moments as well. So when I date girls, I kind of like doing nice things, because I like doing nice things anyway, and I do nice things with you and anyone that I'm with anyway. And there's this interesting part where he's like, well, do you want your first date to be, just at a bar and just get to know the person? Or do you want to go somewhere nice and do something nice?
Yeah.
And I always make that call where I just need one moment on that date where I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And that moment is actually coming back to music, where it's that goosebump moment where they might smile or put some, or, drink the way they hold their wine glass, or, the way that they turn their hair around, or, something very simple, and that'll give me a mad goosebump moment. Yeah. And if I can create one moment like that in a date, in a nice environment that I've created, for me it's paid off. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, of course, can I keep doing it? I can, but can I, change the situation? And I choose not to. I would, I guess, spend the money and have those moments, and I guess look for those moments as well, because it can happen anywhere in a 5-hour date or a 3-hour date. It's just that one moment.
Yeah. So what you're saying is it's better to. Not only are you killing two birds with one stone, you're having a date and you're doing something that you'd really enjoy.
Yeah, I like doing anyway.
Yeah. But you're also creating an experience.
I'm creating an experience, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm not just...
rationalize the amount of money spent through
those three things.
A certain moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not just doing, like you said, wasting time doing things for the sake of doing things.
Exactly. Like going on 100 dates for the sake of it.
Yeah. Because... why?
Yeah.
I'd rather have those couple of moments with, or create those couple of moments with people and be like, yeah, well done. Yeah. Good month. Now do it again.
Good metrics.
Good metrics. Now do it again. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I might change my tack, maybe.
I'm all about, I think we're both all about quality over quantity, but
Quality over quantity. Yeah.
I'll come to that in a moment.
Yeah.
Now, okay. I think I actually may go into that.
Yeah.
Actually, there was something that we missed before, and because we were talking about economics.
Yeah.
And that was, do you now have a changed economic view on the world? Do you have a certain set of ideas about how to measure things economically? Like, you and I, we've talked about the way that, say, Chamath Palihapitiya. For those who don't know,
Palihapitiya. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah.
Is he worth $1 billion?
More than that.
Oh wow!
Easily.
You better learn his name.
Yeah. He's a VC, and the way that he sort of looks at things is through the social capital it brings.
Right.
So, do you have any? And social capital could be valuing an education.
Yeah.
Like his VC firm looks at changing dynamics in social capital. So the past would have been, I have a degree at Harvard.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Versus I got my degree through Treehouse in computer science, and not a degree, but the same skill set.
Right.
In a third of the time and a tenth of the price.
Right.
So do you have any economic principles or views now that you look at things? Because you were talking before about looking at things from a contrarian perspective.
Yeah.
Like, do you follow any mantras or ideas around economics generally?
In terms of economics, not really, I would say. Look, I go with the flow.
Yeah.
In terms of, I guess, how we have experiences and buy things.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if it takes more time to create that thing, you justify the price.
Yeah.
In a weird way. And if it doesn't take time to, create it, I can't justify the price. So
Right.
I can't really buy a bottle of water at a store, even though I'm thirsty. I could never do it.
Really?
I'd have to buy something that's got a little bit of flavoring or something in it, even though I just need water and I like water.
And why is that?
Because I can't justify the cost of $3.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But then I'll go to a wine bar and just be like, yeah, I'll have sparkling and pay $12 for that bottle, which is perfectly fine. But I can't buy bottled water at a store.
Why do you think that is? Is it because you can get it out of the tap?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I've got both
You got both spectrums.
both
going on.
spectrums of
So frugality meeting luxury lifestyle that you're combating with all the time.
Yeah.
Bit of yin and yang.
Yeah, because I guess I can live without
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
Given my background, I can live without a lot of things.
That probably puts me on to you always, and I know we both sort of have this, maybe
Yeah.
you more so than me, but always an interest in finer things, whether it's craftsmanship of watches, wine, jewelry, leather products,
Yeah.
whatever it is. What do you think about that? What is it that appeals to you about that? Because we often have this conversation with
Yeah.
people. They'll come up and be like, "Oh, why do you like? I can't believe you'd be willing to spend $5,000 on that watch. If you had the money, or
Yeah.
like, why do people spend $100,000 on
Yeah.
a watch, or $500 on a pair of shoes?
Yeah.
What do you think it is about that you get that they don't?
Well, I think about these things in a very simple way. You've got one life, right?
Okay.
You choose where to invest your time and money in, right? So I choose where I invest my time, and time is very important to me.
Okay.
So rather than, buy on price, buy twice, I just will research something like it's going to change my life.
Right.
And this will be with anything.
Yeah.
Like, I will research a pillow for 2 days before I would, say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready to buy a pillow now.
Yeah.
And during that 2 days, I will go through the whole spectrum of understanding a pillow.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, I'm like, okay, that's where my pillow purchase is going to be.
Yeah.
Now, would I buy a $10,000 pillow? No. But would I buy something that's really technical and really good?
Yeah.
Or would I buy something that's mass manufactured
Yeah.
and just meets the purpose?
Right.
So you can buy a pillow at $3 up to a couple of $100, and then right up there as well. So I'll do my research and see where my, I guess, needs are met,
Right.
and aesthetically as well, what's pleasing to me.
Right.
And then I'll make a purchase decision on that.
Yeah.
And no one will understand this. I mean, very few people understand this.
But how would you explain it to them?
I don't really. I get out of those conversations. Especially when someone asks me how much is that, I just don't want to get into a conversation.
Well, there's really two.
yeah.
There's two arguments, isn't
Yeah.
there? There's the economics one.
Yeah.
So you can buy a pair of shoes for
Yeah.
$500,
Yeah.
and that'll last you. I mean, I know that my leather brogues will last me 10 years.
Yeah.
So you can either do that,
Yeah.
or you can buy. What's the going rate for a decent corporate pair of shoes?
150?
150, 200 bucks.
Yeah.
Or you can buy a pair of those every year for 10 years.
Yeah.
So economically, it makes more sense to
Yeah.
buy the expensive pair.
Yeah.
Then there's also, I feel like there's an argument for, and it's interesting because I was reading this book about technology and how through having technology, it means that the making of something by a human becomes economically more expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the story.
It is a story. You're buying
Because-
a story.
Like, for example, with wine.
Yeah.
I remember when I used to work as a wine waiter, sommelier wine buyer,
Yeah.
you could convince someone to buy a bottle of wine that's $100
Right.
versus a bottle of wine that's $50 because the $100 wine bottle has a far better story.
Right.
So maybe it's that.
It is. I would say it's a story, and also it's the fact that if I can do it, why not?
Right.
In terms of, you know,
that's interesting.
yeah, because you hit these stages in life, and I have this very thing where every stage of my life has different things that I want to do, and until I hit it, I would not do it.
Yeah.
And it's an achievement reward thing as well.
Yeah.
And I put different things like your English made leather shoes.
Yeah.
I knew about it like years before, but I was never really into it because I was like, no, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be rocking these things. You know,
Right.
Because where am I going to wear them? That was
Right.
one of my main questions.
So different crafted products for different stages of life.
Different stages of life,
Yeah.
like with the watch thing as well. That's really interesting. I really feel that certain brands should only be worn by certain people at different stages of lives.
Right.
Because if not, you're just ruining the whole experience for everyone else who's actually having that
Or is it that you're just...
projection.
Maybe it's like with the example of watches.
Yeah.
It's that, you know, some young buck at 22 years of age going and buying a $100,000 watch, they haven't fully appreciated what that watch represents. Maybe it's that the watch represents the climb to being able to afford a $100,000 watch.
Correct.
You know?
So don't do it.
Yeah.
And I meet a lot of people here in Melbourne who are part of these watch clubs and watch meetups. Some of them are great. Some of them have these life goals where, like, 30, 25. At 35, I'm going to get this. At 40, I'm going to get this. And that's so admirable because they have a goal and they know what's going to, I guess, be presented at that certain age as well, and what they're going to achieve and how they're going to achieve it. And that's really a great thing. And then you meet guys with like $100,000 a year to spend on watches.
Yeah.
And they're just buying lots of different $50,000 watches a year.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
But then again...
And then it sort of commoditizes it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also you meet them every 6 months and they've got a new $50,000 watch.
Yeah.
So are they really
Enjoying it.
enjoying it?
Yeah.
And is it just spending money on things?
Yeah.
So there's a big distinction between spending money on things
Yeah.
and also having those stages where you want to associate your life with it.
Right.
And I feel that I'm more of the associate your life with these kind of things.
Yeah.
Because the most important things, I guess, in the end, as a man, are these very few things anyway. Or not important, but these are the only things that we have.
Yeah.
We have a couple of clothes. Oh, I guess, shirts,
Yeah.
nice suits. And that's about it. We don't really, have...
There's not a plethora of things to represent yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the watch thing is amazing, right? No girl knows what you're wearing. They have no idea what's on your wrist.
Yeah.
Unless
they're it's very unique. I agree. It's very unique for a woman to be super
knowledgeable.
interested into
Yeah.
watchmaking.
Yeah.
Having been to these groups.
Yeah, and also like just outside, like a guy can be wearing a flashy gold Rolex. He might get a little bit of attention, but the guy is wearing an equally expensive, another watch would not get that attention. And I like the guys who wear the watches who are not getting any attention for it,
Yeah.
because in their head they know what they're wearing, and that's the most important thing. It's like people who buy those white gold watches.
Right.
So,
Do you mean like the Apple Watch or something?
no, let's not talk about the
just-
Apple Watch. Yeah, let's talk about a normal $20,000 stainless steel watch, and the white gold version will be $55,000.
Right.
But it looks exactly like the stainless steel because it's white gold.
It's just like white.
Yeah, but only the owner knows that he's wearing a white gold watch.
Yeah.
So I want to hit that stage in life where that's okay. That comfort with yourself.
I think that's just social capital. I think that's what you're talking about. That's why we've spoken about that Chamath guy so much.
Okay.
There's different ways of representing yourself at different stages of your life.
Your life.
And it's interesting because the way that things are changing now
Yeah.
is less about ownership and more about access.
Access.
But ownership to very specific things.
Yeah,
Like, I feel that watches right now are having a sort of renaissance.
they are.
Like, not a renaissance, but it's having, you know, think about...
With the younger crowd.
Yeah. Think about Hodinkee.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like through the era of the baby boomers, and maybe I'm wrong, I feel like the intrigue in watches in our generation is getting intense.
Right.
With things like Hodinkee and Watchville and whatnot. But, look, maybe I'm wrong. But, I think that ownership of things is less about having 5 houses and more about having the ability to jet between 5 houses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that. It's like how we live in the city and we don't have cars.
Yeah.
And I often get this question
Yes.
a lot during dates where like, so do you drive, you know, do you have a car? I'm like, no, you know, I just Uber around everywhere.
Exactly, yeah.
And they look at me with this eye where it's like, you're like this 27-year-old guy with like no car, and like, you know, you feel like they're a bit disappointed in this whole thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like an indirect diss.
Indirect diss, but it's like, you haven't lived this.
It's interesting, is that, why do you, I mean, we've spoken about this a few times.
Yeah.
Why, I mean, it's interesting how so much of life is changing now that we will decide to live in the city as opposed to in a nice inner city or some sort of suburb.
Yeah.
That intrigues me a lot. I don't know your position on it. Do you think if you had kids you'd move outside of the city?
I don't know if I had kids. Look, if I can have a big enough space where my kids can enjoy themselves, and in front of a park, I would not leave the city.
Yeah.
Because I was brought up in an apartment as well. We had a 3-bedroom apartment.
Right.
Till I was 9 or 10 years old.
Okay.
Which is interesting, you know. This was back in Colombo, so it was fine. I don't see any negative
aspect to it.
Aspect of it.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that's one thing I noticed when times I've been in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, people, so long as, if you're right in front of a park like we are now, I mean, why do you need a backyard?
You don't need a backyard.
That's big.
Yeah.
That is a lot of work.
Yeah.
That costs money.
You a lot of money.
Square meters.
Yeah.
Like the cost of housing per square meter, particularly in some of these wealthier suburbs, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it?
For your kid to go crazy for an hour a week.
Exactly.
You can create that. Now it's like schools, middle school, primary schools coming up in the city here in Melbourne. Living in the city has become much more attractive.
Yeah. But that interests me because I don't know if you've seen that, but the schools that have shot up, do they have playgrounds?
I don't know. They might have, I guess, indoor kind of activities that they can do. But then, look, once your kid hits a certain age, send them for swimming lessons, rowing lessons, sailing lessons, tennis lessons. Keep them occupied throughout. They'll be outdoors anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You need a backyard for them to play around. Of course, when they're younger, it's a bit different. But that's when you actually spend more time with them as well.
Yeah.
So you can spend more time in the park with them or take them around. I look at it like this, you know. Every week that we spend, or weekend that we spend in the city, we can go spend that weekend outside, you know, in a nice country town like Sorrento, get a weekend. And imagine if you do that once a fortnight.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely
and you
agree.
still have the money because you're not paying for that massive house in the suburb. You'll have all kinds of access. And you can choose where you want to go.
Yeah.
That's how I want to live. I don't want to just have a house and keep paying for it.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a massive apartment where I can do whatever I want and go to work in like under 5 minutes or and walk my kid to school in under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then go meet a couple of friends in the night who want to have just a wine, lazy wine, at one of the nicest bars in the city.
Yeah.
Come home and then ready for the next day.
Exactly.
And repeat.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
It's all about experience, though, isn't it?
It's all about experience. And if you're in the burbs, I mean, seriously.
You can't do it. I mean, I've been speaking to Uber drivers and they're like, oh, you live in the city, do you? I'm like, yeah. And of course, like, they've got a car that they're trying to now make money out of because it's a dead asset, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I was speaking to this one guy last night and he was just saying that it takes him, he spends an hour and a half one way.
Yeah.
He lives in Rowville, which for those who don't know, Rowville is like a far out suburb sort of.
It's not really far.
Well, it's not that far, but
you're still looking at about
decent.
800,000 to about $1 million for a nice big house.
In Rowville?
Yeah.
Really? Fuck.
Like nice big house.
It's not
but still,
that far, but it's far from the city.
Yeah, that's right.
So, he's spending an hour and a half commuting one way every day. 3 hours a day.
Right.
Now, maybe that's because he chooses to ride from Glen Waverley Station, but he has to do that because he's got to make time to fit in the workout.
Yeah.
So, that's another thing that as well that people forget is the time that you, like, going back to what you were saying earlier, time is so valuable. You've only got one life.
Yeah.
Why waste it commuting 3 hours a day?
I've been living like this for 4 years.
Yeah.
No.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's such an amazing thing.
Yeah.
My Uber spend per year is about $1,200.
Yeah.
That's because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
Like, I will Uber everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then I have rental cars that I take that are just parked outside. So I can take an SUV if I want, a small hatchback, sports car, a van if I need to move things around. So everything is just there for you, and there's no reason why you would not do this.
That, yeah.
I walk everywhere as well in the city, so I'm always out enjoying things. And I've got so much time. Like, the only time that I get late to work is because the lifts don't coordinate on time. So
that's like a running thing with our friends at work, isn't it? Lift time.
Lift time, because it can change from 1.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes if you get
5 minutes.
Yeah.
To 15 if the lifts are screwed.
Really?
Yeah.
If you have to walk, yeah.
But that's very rare.
That's so rare. But yeah, so that's the only concern I have. So imagine if you have that minimum concern in terms of transport to work, where you can put that energy towards.
Yeah.
And look, I'd never move out unless I'm really doing something special.
Yeah.
That I need. Like, I'd love to live near a beach, but it needs to be near the city.
Yeah.
So I'm not willing to have both ends of it.
Yeah.
So Sydney is a good example. Like, if I work in the CBD, I'll need something really close on the water. But I'm not willing to go to Bondi for the beach experience.
Yeah, see, would you ever live in Sydney?
I would live in Sydney.
Yeah.
I love some of those waterfront properties that are there.
It's so expensive.
It's so expensive. It doesn't matter, though. I feel like it's all worthwhile.
It is if you have the means to afford.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is about living on the water in Sydney, because the work that we do will always need to be, unless we're working for ourselves at home, we'll always need to be near a city.
Near a city, yeah.
So that commute could make it excruciating.
That's right. We'll see. Look, if I can figure it out, I'd love to live.
Rose Bay?
Rose Bay is my shortlist right now. It just keeps
I don't think
so
there's
expensive.
any shortlist for you. I think it's just Rose Bay.
Rose Bay, yeah. There's a certain kind of partner that'll fit into Rose Bay as well. So it's got a lot to do with who I'm going to find, who will also, meet that lifestyle that I'm planning to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a break.
Yeah.
A little toilet break.
Yeah.
And then we'll continue on with our Rose Bay.
Hot water break.
Hot water break.
Let's do this.
All right, we're back.
All right, Jordan, quick question. What is this tea and how do I get it?
This tea is, there's a place that I get it from. They're called Tucker Tea in Sydney. Mm-hmm. I think he brands it as quality.
Right.
Like quality.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
But I actually don't know his name. It's a Chinese gentleman, and I know that he goes over to Japan and China to import it directly. It's called Jasmine Pearl. Mm-hmm. Jasmine Pearl is like green tea and white tea wrapped into a little ball.
Right.
I've also got this awesome jasmine. I don't know. Have you ever been to, what is it? What's that? The Flower Drum. Mm-hmm. So for those that don't know, Flower Drum in Melbourne, in Australia, is an institution when it comes to Chinese food. Mm-hmm. Best jasmine tea I've ever had in my life.
All right, okay.
Like, the only other one that could compare would probably be this place. It's like a 2 Michelin hat restaurant that does like perfect duck and goose in Hong Kong.
Right.
And that jasmine tea was about the same. But he gets something as good as that. And it's pretty well priced. Like, that tea is probably $50 for, maybe a little bit less for 100 grams, like $40 for 100 grams.
Okay.
Seems expensive, but when you're drinking tea that good,
Yeah.
it's like,
I know.
bellissimo.
The the consistency of this tea is amazing.
Yeah.
You can smell the jasmine, but you can't taste that.
Exactly.
And I hate the jasmine taste,
The
but I can
bitterness,
smell it.
Yeah.
It's like jasmine rice. Smells great.
Yeah.
Why is it weird when I taste it?
Yeah. I think if you were to get into tea and started with green tea, you'd start with jasmine pearls because you get the smell, but still an awesome flavor, but it's not too bitter.
Mm-hmm.
Then I now love jasmine, but even I can't. Like if it gets too bitter, you can't let it steep for too long. Or there's something called gen matcha.
Right.
Have you ever had that?
No, I haven't.
It's like green tea. Sometimes they do powder and leaves with rice.
Right.
It's like a Japanese form of green tea. It's
Okay.
quite standard. Like all your iced green teas that you get from Japan and China are that. So that's also a good one. But anyway.
So are you a caffeine person or not? I guess a
Well,
coffee person.
Yeah, I used to be obsessed. I used to have like double shot lattes when I was 17, 18. I
Right.
could do that, couple Red Bulls in a day when I was working in hospitality.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I just got really bad, I got really bad anxiety and I just stopped having coffee because I noticed it was after, like I got real jittery.
Yeah.
I don't know, are you much of a caffeine person? You like your coffee, right?
I like my coffee. It's more of a social thing now.
Right.
I don't drink more than 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day, so normally it will just be 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
And the longer the beard of the person who's making it for me, the more money I'm willing to spend, and the more time I'm willing to spend at that cafe.
Yeah.
Because I feel like someone needs to help the hipsters out.
Yeah.
Might as well be me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? It's one of those things that, I used to be obsessed with, and I think it was more because of the culture in Melbourne that everyone loves their coffee.
That's right.
Everyone loves their coffee.
Yeah.
I've got a really good mate who is really obsessed with, your AeroPress coffee. You grind it down yourself and put it in like a filter.
Yeah.
Your filter coffee. But it's interesting because I recently did this DNA test, and the DNA test showed that I can't deal with more than like 150 milligrams of coffee in a day genetically.
Sorry.
I've got like a polymorphism.
Could you repeat that? You did a DNA test.
Well, so you can do, you can get your DNA sequenced, or you can get your gene. It's called genotyping, which is where they check the end of your DNA or your alleles, to look for what they call polymorphisms, and that is abnormalities in your individual DNA. So like everyone, no matter what color, gender, sex, whatever you want to, all these social things we've created, like DNA is the same, right? The only thing that will differ is that you have different haplogroups or groups of alleles which define your unique attributes. Like I can't not digest, but I can't absorb caffeine very well.
Right.
Apparently can't process fat as well as other people.
Okay.
With my muscle fibers, I'm better at doing high intensity training as opposed to long distance running and stuff like that.
Right.
Little things like, being more susceptible to getting diabetes, which is like some of the stuff right?
Yeah.
Like my brother's type 1 diabetic.
Right.
So some of the stuff you can know already. So I've got the gene. It's just a matter of whether it gets flipped or not for getting diabetes.
So when did you do this?
It would have been 3 months ago.
Right, again. Has it changed your outlook on life?
Not really.
Not really?
No, it's changed a little bit of what I'll eat, a little bit. But the problem is, man, is you get this stuff done, and I don't know about you. In Australia, our system is so rigid and set that I can't go to a GP and they won't experiment. Like my GP that I see regularly, she doesn't have the time to go read through my entire report which shows what I'm more susceptible to,
Right.
based on peer-reviewed research.
Yeah.
So therefore, she can't provide any recommendation on, we should check these things out, we should have a look at this, and then start experimenting with your diet or your lifestyle this way, which is sort of frustrating. So I'm trying to work that out now. I don't know whether I need to go to a geneticist. I don't know. I don't know what to do from here. It's something that I've got to look in, that I've been meaning to look into. But I mean, if I would strongly recommend people do it, because I think that the way that we're going about tracking our genetics, blood panels, and so forth is going to be geared towards this stuff. The more information you have, the more healthier you could become later on down the track.
That's
but
true.
I think that like things like Apple's health kit will allow people to start doing more with this sort of information.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
So are you a tweaker? Do you tweak your body often, or?
I would say I like to experiment with health and stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't know, are you?
I've lost a lot of weight, so I'm trying to put on muscle now.
Yeah.
And I'm so used to eating like a little girl, where I'll eat small portions because to lose the weight, I did that. And now it's very interesting in terms of, putting on the weight. So I've got to eat more, but I can't really do it anymore.
So, okay, that's the next thing I wanted to cover. Sorry, we got Lauren here in the background tiptoeing. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to cover was, I mean, since you and I have met, we've both been into self-improvement big time.
Yeah.
Like, improving knowledge, health, performance, all that sort of stuff. For you, the biggest thing I've noticed is obviously your weight loss in the last, I don't know, let's say 6 months?
About a year now.
A year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had here 6 to 12 months. So for you, what is it about self-improvement that intrigues you? And then maybe just tell us about what you've been doing with your own health, particularly in the last year.
Right. Okay.
Because I look back at your photos on Facebook, you have lost so much weight.
Yeah,
it's
I've lost
unbelievable.
around 20, 25 Ks, 20 Ks in about a year, a year and a half.
Like if someone back in Sri Lanka had not seen you for 2 years,
they wouldn't
it's shocking.
recognize me. Yeah.
But you weren't that big. You weren't like obese.
No, I wasn't obese. I'm 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So I was 96 Ks, 97 Ks at my highest.
Yeah.
Now I'm hovering around 73. I need to get to around 80, which is my ideal weight.
Yeah.
And then I'll be ripped.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. That's a long-term goal.
Yeah.
And I say long-term because I don't know whether I'll ever get there.
Well, you like this guy, Eugene, that I'm plugging hard to get on the show at the moment.
All right, okay.
He's Coach Eugene Teo. You should check him out.
Right.
Really interesting stuff. His Instagram stories are unbelievable as well, because he looks like a bodybuilder.
Right.
But he's a coach.
Okay.
By practice, and I would say still a bodybuilder by practice. Like, it seems that he does competitions, but he's got some really good knowledge when it comes to hypertrophy and building muscle. So
right,
you have to check him out.
Yeah, for me.
So that's your main goal now: putting on muscle.
And having strength to do what I want to do in life.
Yeah.
Over the long term. Because I actually follow a lot of old guys on Instagram. Because I like to see how they actually keep themselves fit, what their lifestyles are like. So then you can kind of see where you're going to be in your 40s and your 60s. Yeah. There's an interesting guy called Giovanni on Instagram. He's an Italian.
Grey hair guy?
Great
you saw him on the Joe Rogan thing?
Yeah. I followed him because I think he was dancing in his sailboat with his wife at the time. And I was like, how do you get there? How do you get there?
He's doing exceptionally well. She's stunning. But she's also they're both like dancers, aren't they? Or he's really into his dancing. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's into his dancing, but also he's into his watches and dressing and that whole lifestyle. It's very appealing because he does it from that I'm genuinely having fun with and not just putting on a show. And that's unique, especially on Instagram, where it's just like here's a bunch of brands I'm flashing on this shot.
Yeah.
And these guys are just having a lot of fun, and it's really nice to follow that kind of thing as well.
He's impressive. He reminds me a lot of. I mean, my dad's not a party guy, but I think when it comes to fitness, I really like to follow my dad. Like he's mid-50s now, and he's exceptionally fit.
Right. Do you feel that you're not as fit as him?
I don't think I was as fit as him at the same age, but he also played like professional, amateur, not professional, but the highest grade of amateur football in Australia that you could play. So he was, man, if you look at photos of him, and he was ripped. Right. But then again, like back then they were on these, pasta was like the thing back then.
Yeah, the main diet.
Yeah, like it was all about I remember having this argument with him, and mainly his mate that he played football with, how the changes in diet or the focus on what was the optimal diet at a certain point of time back then, which is even more interesting because I don't know if you saw that recent article about how the sugar industry basically convinced people that
fat was a
bad thing.
Right, yeah.
I linked it the other week in the Monday Morsels, but
I've read a lot about that. That's my main concern in putting on weight as well. Will I go the protein route where I eat a lot of protein throughout the day, or do I also include carbs? Because I've kind of skipped carbs for the last 1.5 years now.
Right.
So do I introduce carbs into my fitness regime so I can put on more muscle? So I'm trying to weigh in that. Or I'm trying to experiment.
What's the optimal
week after
way?
Week?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to put on around 7 kilos of muscle.
Okay, so how did you lose this weight?
It's just eating consistently healthy. Fasting till mid-morning as well.
So you don't have any breakfast?
No, I don't have any breakfast. I'll just have a cup of coffee, no sugar, until 1 o'clock.
Do you feel like you get any reflux or anything from that? No,
I was perfectly fine.
All right.
And then I would have a salad at lunch.
Yeah.
And then I'll have heavy protein at dinner.
Okay.
And that's it.
Right.
And then you just keep doing that. You don't include a lot of sugar in your diet at all. And you keep consistently doing that. And at one point, the weight just keeps dropping. And I walk a lot in the city as well.
Yeah.
So before I go to work, I'll just do around the block.
Around the block,
but really quickly.
Yeah.
So that I'm, making a small workout out of it. And then after the work, I would go around the park. Because I wasn't really exercising at that time. I was not gymming or anything like that. So I wasn't doing intensity workouts or even weight training. But after I lost the weight, I felt that this is the time now for me to go do all these things.
So what are you doing in terms of exercise now?
It's just weight training now.
Okay.
And trying to get, I guess, bigger. Yeah, that's I never thought that I'll be that person trying to get big. I always thought that I'll be that person trying to lose weight.
Yeah. So your basic mindset is fast on the days that you work till midday.
Yeah.
And then eat as much protein and vegetables as possible.
As possible during the day.
Okay.
And I think the fasting helps because you're burning your fat then.
Yeah.
Because you've already had more than 12 hours, almost 16 hours of no food. So that keeps, I guess, your body burning fat.
Yeah.
Which is the problem I'm having now because even though I eat now, I'm still burning fat.
Right.
So I need to eat more than I'm, I guess, spending energy on.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to eating more, so
it's hard.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
So it's a problem on actually eating more. I can eat my comfort food more, but those are not the healthy foods that I need to eat to actually build a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, my diet is very similar. The thing that I have trouble with now is that, like for a start, I wasn't exercising. I was using gymnastic rings only for exercise. So I wasn't doing weights. I was just using the rings in the park.
Yeah.
So that was a problem. So I changed that. The second was one of the things that I'm learning now, particularly from people like Eugene, is you have to be very particular about what you do to build muscle, which is something that I want to cover with him and a few others that'll be on the podcast. But
So what does that mean?
so like there's interesting things about, there's weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
There's fat loss and weight loss, two totally different things.
Right.
And eating for muscle gain is another totally different thing.
Mm-hmm.
My assumption was that you would just eat well, just eat protein and vegetables and you'll be okay if you're doing the right amount of exercise. But if you want to build, when you're eating a certain amount in a certain lifestyle, your body will just adjust to that based on how you're eating and exercising. Yeah. And that people who speak about the plateau, it's not really a plateau. It's just that's what your body can do with what you have. Yeah. So, you have to make changes, and it'll be interesting to see what those changes are. One of the things as well that, with building muscle is that the way that you train is different. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, those are some of the things that I'll, I guess, investigate with him. Mm-hmm. So going back to the self-improvement thing, you just recently went to Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I guess I hit that stage in my life where I needed any kind of motivation that I could get, and also goal setting. Because I was in a long-term relationship before, so I kind of had all these couple goals that I was trying to achieve, and that was going well as well.
Yeah.
But then ever since, I guess, you come out of it, you kind of need to set goals for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I was not very clear in terms of what I wanted for myself. And then there was a couple of months where I thought about what I need to do. And then I kind of figured it out where I'm not trying to build $100 million company or $1 billion company that's trying to solve all my problems at the end when I sell it. Mm-hmm. My $100 million company is me. Mm-hmm. So how do I tweak me to
feel like $100 million?
To me, like $100 million. Even though I don't have the $100 million.
Yeah.
And that is something that I'm trying to achieve.
Right.
And so Tony Robbins was an investment that I made where I realized that I could be in different physical states if I wanted to be in. So being happy when everyone else is down. Just if you're feeling down or you have a worry, how to get out of it by just doing physical things to yourself. And so he had a 4-day seminar.
Yeah.
And I went into it to learn a couple of things like that, where he's got tricks where he can instill those moments that you've experienced there in your head so that you can go in and out of those states. And I do that now. So if I'm on a night out and I'm feeling a little bit down or I'm a little bit tired, I'll just do something to my face with my fingers, and then all of a sudden I'm so perked up.
Really?
So I went for that, and I also set a lot of goals that I've instilled in me, so I know the pain of not achieving those goals.
Right.
So in my new, I guess, MJ 2.0, I understand the pain of not achieving those goals, so I'm going to achieve it. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been great. And he is good. He's at the top of his game in terms of what he does, which is motivational speaking. And it's not really motivation or anything like that, because he's not giving you any insights. He's just he's making you feel a certain way, which you will then dive into your own thoughts and then set those examples and make up your mind. And then he will instill, after you made up your mind, how to cement that in your life. And then you go into the world with a little bit of tips and tricks in terms of how to do things.
Yeah.
So I came out of it really driven and, how not to worry about a lot of things, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. He didn't actually give us any kind of, business ideas or anything like that. It's not about that. It's more about what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. Mm. Yeah.
It seems to me like what the main thing he did is he just gives you a platform or a methodology to change your mindset for the better, to do the things that you want to achieve.
Correct. And because you're there, you've got no other excuses than to actually deep dive and do it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people don't do that much at all.
No, because they're not in a situation where everyone else thinks about it.
I don't know about you, but I feel like every year, maybe every 18 months, I have a moment where I just revisit everything.
Yeah.
Because I'm very goal. You know, I have goals and principles that I guide by and whatnot.
Yeah.
And basically, Lauren, can you just flick the light on?
It's getting dark in here.
No, the other one. It is getting dark. Thank you, Lauren. So yeah, the thing, like I said, with that is I feel like a lot of people don't have those moments where they go or they just don't sit back and change their perception on something often.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like if you're focused on improving yourself over time, like you and I might be, that provides that.
Yeah.
And also like the methodology to do it.
The methodology to do it, and also see the outcome and know the pain of what you will feel if you don't achieve that. Now I'm going to pass you my phone. Have you used Evernote?
Yes.
It's just, So it's something that I did for my goals, because my goals for this year is pretty simple. Just, register in some sports activities, and that's the very things that I have a lot of control on. So what do I do with my weekends is mainly sports oriented or anything that I want to learn.
Yeah.
So what I did was, so I set those goals at Tony Robbins, and I actually understood the pain of, what if I didn't know how to do this and how it'll look 10 years, 20 years from now. And I feel, and I also understood the joy that it'll bring to me if I actually learn how to do this in 10 years from now, how it'll change my life.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pass you my phone. I just want you to see you can read it if you want, but more of the topic.
Yeah.
And how it associates with everything.
Yeah.
And the kind of joy that it brings to your face if you know what you're looking at.
Right. So this was something that you did at...
No, this is something I did after.
Okay.
Because I needed to cement the fact of what I felt on that day.
Yeah. For those at home, what we have is your goals.
Yeah.
So I'll just read out one of them. Riding a bike, street bike.
Yeah.
So you really want to get into riding.
Yeah.
And then what I'm seeing is those awesome images you'd see on like Instagram.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what Instagram does really well.
That's right.
For the right person.
Yeah.
Is it really... that's why I'm back into it now.
Yeah.
Like obsessed.
Yeah.
Because it really... it's very motivating.
Yeah.
To, when you're having those moments where you can't be fucked.
Yeah.
This really, really motivates you.
So one of those pictures is a group of guys
that's
riding
really
down
cool.
the coast.
I might do that myself because, like, I've got my goals.
Yeah.
The thing is that, like, my goal, I'll have like revolving. You and I both know Tim Ferriss.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have like goals that I aim for 3 years from now, and then in between that, I'll have smaller goals.
Correct.
That are part of that.
Correct.
So that's the only thing that might screw that up. But what were you going to say? Sorry.
No. So one of those pictures for the bike thing is a couple of guys along a coast. Mm-hmm. So maybe it signifies that maybe I'll have a circle of friends where we just ride our bikes along the coast. So maybe that's a goal. So once my goal is achieved of actually riding the bike consistently, then the goal will eventually be to create a crew like that. And then the other one is just a bike rack on a Range Rover.
Because you want a Range Rover?
No, because I'll have a trophy wife where she'll probably drive a Range Rover. And then the bike rack will be on top of that.
Trophy wife. You're an idiot.
Yeah, but just to give you an example of how the goal looks, or what the goal is, and how it'll look, and what the end goal will be as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just look at it, and it just cements the fact of if I do it, or follow up with it, it'll actually better my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 goals here.
Yeah. These are just sports goals.
Yeah. So do you segment them into other areas? So you got like sports, career.
Yeah. So the career
like
ones
that.
are more in depth. They don't really have pictures.
Okay.
But this is just
that could be good though because one of the things that this reminds me of is Maverick Waller. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a player for St Kilda.
Okay.
And there was really awesome article about him a couple of weeks ago about how. And when I read that, I was like, "Shit, this guy should be captain of the club," because they're changing captains.
Is it because Nick Ree wants?
He wants to, no longer be captain.
Yeah.
And
he's a great specimen of a man, though.
Man, Jesus, he's an elite athlete. Could basically do any sport. He could have been an Olympic runner.
Maybe.
No, like he could have.
Yeah?
He could have been an Olympic runner. Yeah, they did this training with some Olympic group back in 2005, and the coach at the time was like, if you came and joined me, you'll get a gold medal.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so this guy, he does sort of a similar thing, visualization.
Yeah.
I feel like visualization is a very powerful thing.
Correct.
So like he has like a book that he looks at, and it's like these are my goals. I don't know whether there's images there because I haven't seen the book, but he's obviously creating a similar process.
Correct.
And then he meditates for 20 minutes.
Yeah. So I've started doing that in the morning.
Have you?
It's called a gratitude meditation session.
Okay.
It's only about 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'll sit down on my bed, across my legs, and start doing. I think Tony Robbins has his own thing.
Yeah.
So you breathe in, breathe out. Think about moments that you're thankful for.
Yeah.
What your goals are for the day, and how you'll feel if you achieve it, and how you'll also feel when you achieve your end goals.
Well, that sort of reminds me of, the next segment, which is our quick questions.
Right. Okay.
So, what is this? This is part of your morning ritual, right?
That is a part of my morning ritual.
So, what is your total ritual? Do you have one? Like, is it one that you stick to each day, or do you know that you have some things that you generally do each day and the rest of it is just loose? Yeah,
so some of the rituals are my morning, I guess, meditation now.
Okay.
This is only for a couple of weeks, but that's after Tony Robbins, so I kind of cement that in.
Yeah.
The next is I go for coffee with some of my friends.
Okay.
At work. We don't expand that group because that group is very easy to bounce ideas off and really get into the nitty-gritty of things and just be open without being judged. And then during lunch, I'll try to convince a person at work to go out with me. It can be anyone.
Okay.
So I'll just have that conversation with someone.
Right.
And I'll always go out with someone.
So someone different.
Someone different. Or someone who I'm feeling a vibe with or what I want to eat and I know that they'll enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. And after work, sometimes I go to the gym.
Yeah.
But most of my rituals are actually based around listening to a lot of other podcasts and music. Yeah.
What podcasts do you listen to these days?
Right now, it's just Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So good.
Malcolm Gladwell's got a couple on now.
Yeah, is that Revisionist History?
Revisionist History.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to that. He's got a couple. And what else am I listening to?
Tim Ferriss?
Tim Ferriss, yes, he gets very technical. And I've moved away from trying to be too technical with myself.
Yeah.
I used to listen to him a lot. The podcast started with actually me understanding Australians a lot more because when I first came here, I listened to Hamish and Andy on the radio.
Oh, no.
And then I paid for a premium subscription so that I can listen to Hamish and Andy from back in 2006.
Right.
From when they first started. So I was listening to all their podcasts from right back from 2006.
Really?
So I was always listening to something. And that helped me a lot in understanding Australians and what actually, all these little side stories mean. And that's how I really got into listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
So I went through a lot of hours. I'm talking like 3 to 6 hours of Hamish and Andy, just going for it.
Yeah.
Every day. And then I transitioned into, there was another podcast called DVD ASA. It's David Choi and... it's a filthy podcast, but it was just so good. So he was an artist who got...
Hang on, that's the guy who
Facebook.
Yeah,
$200 million guy.
Yeah.
Is
this the one about they interview porn stars?
No, he's got a porn star on the panel as well. They just talk about...
Oh,
yeah.
Asa Kiro.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It is her. But I like how guys don't know who she is when we talk about her.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they're full of shit.
Yeah, they're full of shit. So I listen to a lot of his podcasts, and he's long form as well, maybe 3 hours in.
All right.
And I haven't shared this with a lot of people because it is a very interesting podcast.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how people can be so open about certain genres and what they want to talk about.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, by listening to a lot of podcasts and, things like that, I actually understood how to ask people questions.
Yeah.
So that would transition into how I'm a salesperson as well.
Yeah.
Because I now understand if you're talking about something, I can still bring it back into what I want you to talk about, or reframe things so that we're still on the same topic. So I've learned a lot of my skills through, listening to other people.
Yeah, I agree totally. I think it's one of the most, it's why we're doing podcasts now. Like, you got to think about it. You can still be doing whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And it's just going there subconsciously in the background.
Yeah.
And there'll be, all of a sudden, you've just got that moment and you hear something and you're like, that little gem. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's all you need.
That's all you need. And it makes the entire 3 hours worth it.
Yeah. And I've never done a podcast. I hope this sounds good.
Yeah, I think it will.
This is through just experience of listening to 2 different podcasts.
Yeah.
And before I came here, I listened to a podcast. Probably after this, I'll have dinner and listen to another podcast. It's quite interesting. It's like you don't need company anymore.
No, you don't.
You don't.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I'll get a message from someone and be like, hey, you want to hang out? I'm just like, nah, I'm in the middle of this podcast. It was so, maybe I don't want to, leave this, and now I just want to listen to this. And I like the consistency of some of these podcasts where it comes out every day as well.
Yeah.
So I've actually got something to do every day.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm learning more than doing anything else.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things about it's like reading, you without, I never understand people who want mentors.
Right.
Like, when you can just get a mentor through a book indirectly.
Right.
You can learn from what their experiences have been.
Yeah.
When you're listening to a podcast, it's like a live mentor.
It is.
Like, let's take Joe Rogan as an example.
Yeah.
You've got him talking and evolving his ideas and his experiences over, how many years has he been doing it now?
I don't know.
2-3 years.
He's got, what, 600 episodes?
At least. No, they're up to 800.
Wow.
Let's have a look. He'd be easily up to 836 with Hannibal Buress was the last one I was listening to. That was interesting.
That was, Hannibal's a great guy.
854 was the most recent one. Okay.
See, I'm the kind of guy who will now go back and listen to the first 100. Because I need to know what he was talking about. Because I've got so much out of it.
One of the favorite things Lauren and I do now, let's say because we don't really sit down and watch TV.
Yeah.
We'll actually, sometimes, some people might be watching TV or something while they're having dinner, or after dinner, once you're done eating, they might go watch TV or whatever. We'll flick on a podcast.
Yeah.
Or it might be there's a couple of channels on YouTube where if you type Joe Rogan on,
right,
and that's a particular topic where he's just ranted for 20 minutes.
Okay.
So good. So, I love it. I think it's brilliant.
Another one that I skipped and I didn't talk about was Will Anderson's podcast. I spent a couple of years with him.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. I love that stuff.
Will Anderson.
I'll give you mine and this is for everyone listening as well.
Mm-hmm.
These are, I've got 4, 8, 12, 16. 16 that I've got there. Some of them I don't listen to as frequently as others. Mm-hmm. But you've got We the People Live with Josh Sepps.
Right.
Which is awesome. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast. Uh-huh. Bit more politics.
I've heard Josh.
He's an Aussie guy. He works for Huffington Post.
Oh, right.
He used to do the HuffPost Live. 2 Guys, 1 Cup. Mm-hmm. With Will Anderson and Charlie Clausen around there. It's basically like an AFL podcast.
It's the AFL podcast.
Yeah, so they're going to have to change the name.
So I listened to first it was Will Anderson's podcast. Then he started a podcast called Tofop.
Yeah, Tofop. Yeah.
With Charlie Clausen.
And they just non-stop talking about football, yeah?
No. That was before football. So that's the new ones.
Yeah, but
just
they
need to get
were talking
into
about it
football.
so often that they were like,
Yeah,
"Fuck, we need a podcast for footy.
Podcast for footy.
Yeah.
And that was insane. Those two guys bouncing ideas of each other. Is Charlie Clausen's just some actor on The Neighbours or something?
Is he?
Yeah, some actor.
Dude, honestly, I don't know what he did or anything.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I know everything about Charlie Clausen.
Yeah.
But he's just a random guy. He's not a comedian or anything, but he's great. He's just very grounded dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that one. There's two of Dan Cullen's. I don't know if you know Hardcore History.
Hardcore History.
That's awesome. That's like a performance. I want to experiment with a few of those. That would be cool. Like doing a long form thing on your own. But the only thing I don't like about it is it's very
one-sided.
Not so much one-sided, but it's consuming.
Yeah.
Like you really, really need to not be as engaged as say listening to Joe Rogan just chat. There's Common Sense, which is him covering general relevant topics. Mm-hmm. Exponent, which is with Ben Thompson. So he has a tech strategy blog.
Right.
That's pretty good. Found My Fitness, Rhonda Patrick. So she's into like nutrigenomics, getting your DNA tested and then that sort of stuff. Jocko Podcast, so leadership and performance. Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, which we've covered. I've started listening to Sam Harris's Waking Up. Mm-hmm. Do you know Sam Harris? Really, really interesting. Like covers a lot of like topics around morality, politics, science, religion, which is quite interesting. Willosophy, which is probably the one you've listened to. And then another one I've started listening to recently was Like I'm a 6-Year-Old with Tom Ballard.
Tom Ballard.
That was quite interesting.
Yeah. The stand-up guy.
Yeah, the stand-up guy.
Yeah.
So those are some pretty good ones. There's also like some that I occasionally listen to, like The Journal with Kevin Rose. He does a podcast with Tim Ferriss randomly.
Right.
Called The Random
Where
Show.
they drink wine.
They drink wine all the time. We'll have to start our own.
That's some baller stuff.
So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
What's a question people never ask you that you wish they did? Whether in social situations or whatever. If you want to skip, just say skip and we can come back to it.
No, it's... I feel like some people have this thing in their head where they want to ask me where I'm from, but they don't know how to structure it. And I feel like they want to answer it or ask it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy answering it as well. But it's really interesting where they skip around it or they'll beat around the bush with it.
Really?
Yeah. Because I'm super comfortable in terms of everything. I have no intention.
Why do you think that is?
I think because they've had bad experiences before asking it.
Oh, right.
I feel that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought, I would never have assumed that. Maybe just because I'm confident in asking people, I don't really care.
Yeah, that's right. You don't care what the outcome is.
No.
But I feel that they're really scared about the outcome. And then I'll make them nervous if they do ask. I'll like, really? Nah.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah.
What's the best purchase under, let's say, under $200?
Under $200?
The last year or so.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe, let's say, in the last 5 years.
Last 5 years?
Yeah.
My Seiko watch.
Okay.
$185.
And why is that?
Because I still wear it.
Yeah.
It's a Seiko. It's got a nylon strap. It's a blue quartz chronograph watch.
I know the one.
Yeah, and I love it. Whenever I wear it on the weekends, I'm already in a state of mind where I'm relaxing.
Right.
Because when I went on holiday, each time I go on holiday, I'll only wear that.
Yeah.
So I'll swim in it. I'll go in the ocean with it. I'll be in the spa with it. So I've all got those moments cemented in my head where it was me and my Seiko.
Really?
So
when did you buy it?
Back in 2010. Yeah.
Okay.
And and it's still been with me. Even when I went to Sri Lanka, I wore it a lot.
Wow.
On the beaches and just sitting out. And it's just like, well, that watch in me has been through all of that.
Yeah.
And even when I wear it now, I really think about, all that.
Yeah.
All
the
those
memories
experiences.
associated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a $200 watch.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and last 5 years as well, which is good timing.
What are your 5 favorite non-musical sounds?
Non-musical sounds?
Yeah. I'll give you one for me.
Uh-huh.
I love the sound of a dog drinking its water from a bowl.
Oh, wow. You're being really specific.
Yeah.
I would say a fountain.
Okay. That's a good one.
I like how fountains sound. I like the way lifts.
Yes.
You know? That whole
Do you think that's recent, having moved into being in the city?
A lot of lifts. No, I like good lift sounds.
Right.
What's another one? I like listening to my watch.
Yeah.
Whenever I can. And especially if I'm moving my wrist. I don't know whether you can hear this, but you can hear...
You can hear it a
You
little
can
bit.
hear
Go
the
again.
movement go crazy. And
Yeah,
I
you
just,
can hear
and
it.
I just like listening to all that momentum that you just created. That's a good sound.
There's 3.
Oh, wow. More sounds. I like a good V8 on the street.
Really?
Yeah. Especially those Bentleys that people drive and just...
I thought you were a Tesla guy.
No. I mean, I'll buy a Tesla, but I like good V8 sounds.
Okay.
Onto cars, I like wide tire sounds as well. Like,
White
you
tires?
know, yeah, so, no, wide tires.
Oh,
so.
wide tires.
So when wide tires actually go around the road, there's a lot of tire noise.
Right.
And you know that the car is of good quality when it's got really wide tires.
You're right.
So that's something I enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't think I enjoy it, but it's a nice sound. And good cutlery.
Yes. That reminds me of working in hospitality.
Yeah.
There's something about that. It sort of makes me feel like celebration. Not celebration, but, occasion or something.
Occasion, yeah. It's good cutlery sound, the way it kind of cuts into the plate.
Yeah.
That noise and...
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
That's something I like as well.
All right. What do you think has been the most influential book for you?
Yeah.
And if you had to gift one book
Yeah.
in your life, what
Yeah.
would it be?
Yeah. Very simple. I've gifted that book many times.
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
I was given that book by a friend at the time who gave me that book. For some reason, he gave it to me at 19.
Yeah.
We were doing an internship and he gave it to me. And because I always thought big when I was younger, but I had nothing to actually cement the fact that maybe I can achieve things. Because, people around you are maybe sometimes not on the same page. So to just keep you positively motivated, and Think and Grow Rich is one of those books where it gives you stories, backgrounds of people who've done it, people who've thought positively and actually made a change.
Yeah.
And that is one of those books that I give a lot of people
Right.
if they haven't read it.
I've never read
and
it.
I'd love to give, I gifted that book to someone because I always remember the guy who gifted me that book.
Really?
Because that book made such a big difference. So I'd like to give that book to other people because then they'll remember me.
Yeah.
If it made a change. If it doesn't make a change, then of course.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Any other books of note that you've ever read?
That's
the one?
That is my main go-to book. There are other books, of course. Yeah. There's a nice book called... I can't even remember. It's about the war back in Sri Lanka. That I used to... When I was in school, I used to give it to a lot of people around me. It was called Elephant Pass.
Okay.
It was about a Tamil girl and a Sinhalese soldier, and how they met. He had to save her, and then he protected her and brought her into the city.
Right.
And they fell in love.
This is a real book?
This is a real book,
it's not
yeah.
fiction?
I think it was by Nihal de Silva. And I used to read this when I was a kid, maybe 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I used to give it to everyone around me and all the girls in the van. We used to go in these school vans.
Yeah.
I remember they used to always take it from me and read it, and then they would give it to their friend, and that book used to get passed around a lot. So I think that was my first book that I started.
Yeah.
That was a multicultural love story.
Interesting.
And then the second one, of course, is Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have to check those two out.
Yeah.
Whose love did you crave most as a child, do you think? And whose did you know that you could get quite easily? This is from your parents.
Right. I would say craving was craved more attention from my dad.
Yeah.
And I knew that my mom's love was unconditional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we swept through this topic before. Because I've thought about this as well.
Yeah.
Because
this is a Tony Robbins question.
This is a Tony Robbins question as well. Because I had a checklist that I thought that if I hit those checklists, then I would get my dad's. I get attention and validation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my mom's was always unconditional.
Okay.
Which is a good thing to have in your parents, because then you actually want to go out and do things.
Yeah.
You don't want to be super relaxed where your parents love
smother you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Because what's the motivation to even leave the house?
Yeah.
It's why you get like 30-year-olds and 25-year-olds still living with their parents.
And just, well, not so much that, but just not really, they're just lazy.
Lazy. Go do something.
I saw that a lot growing up in areas like Brighton.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
They're still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a few, but it's more that, they've just had things gifted to them.
Yeah.
They start a business, but they didn't do it themselves.
Right.
They had $100,000 from their parents.
Right.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Or they've gone immediately to work for their parents. They're not really equipped to be doing the role they're doing as general manager of their parents' business, but they're just given that role.
Right.
So that's one thing I've noticed growing up in that era.
Yeah.
My parents did not do that. I think I'm the same as you. Craved my dad's affection and knew that my mum would always support me.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It's not that I love my dad more than my mum.
No.
But it's more of there's
the dynamic.
The dynamic of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular toolkit? Things that you always utilize regularly, like apps, phone devices, anything in particular that you use as a go-to for work or life or whatever?
Good question. Let me just go through what I have. I've got all my emails like Hotmail, and this is just through the mail app, on Apple. Hotmail and Gmail.
Yeah.
It's just on one app, so I actually don't know whether it's coming through my Hotmail or Gmail.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. Because as long as I respond to it, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's one of the apps that I use. I keep most of my documents now not on Word. It's more Google Docs.
Yeah.
Because I can update it whenever I want to. I know these sound really
basic
in 2016. I've also got look, there's a dating app that's interesting. I like talking about.
What's that?
It just shows me everyone who's like me.
Yeah, right.
So I just choose which ones I should not be talking about this.
Yeah, right. What else? Are there any other tools in particular that you like? Do you have a go-to exercise tool, or like I was saying before that I used to utilize my rings all the time. I used to utilize the kettlebell behind you all the time.
Not really in terms of exercise. I use an app that tracks my weight.
Yeah.
That's about it. So I'll insert that once a week. I haven't done that for a couple of months, I guess. The rest are just basic apps that I have. At work, of course, I just use Outlook. That's interesting. So anything that's not on my Outlook calendar does not exist.
It doesn't exist, yeah.
It doesn't exist.
I've noticed that about you.
So unless you send me something, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Everything is like put on that.
That's why I sent you an invite.
You sent me an invite. So I'm like, exactly half an hour before I got a message. And then I knew I was getting ready. Yeah. But if I was not getting ready, then I'll know you'll call and give me an excuse. Or that I need to get ready and come.
Yeah.
Everything, even personal stuff. Go get a haircut on my Outlook calendar.
I'm the same, personally. Although, like, sometimes social things I don't either.
social things, I'll put it in and I'll put a name in.
Yeah.
Because if not, you kind of, especially on Friday nights, oh, what are you doing on Friday? You arrange something with the first person that gives you an offer.
And then you're screwed, yeah.
And then you miss out on everything else, which is great.
Or you forget.
You forget that you've actually committed on the first one.
Yeah.
So I'll always put the first offer into my Friday calendar.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm doing. I'm not changing that. So anyone who needs my attention, make sure they come in early. And get on
send
the
him an
calendar.
invite.
Yeah, and just send me a message saying, can I send you this on Outlook?
Yeah.
And it's done. You're getting my time. If you don't have it, you're not getting it.
Cool. What is something you believe or that you know is true that other people disagree with you on? This is a question that Tim Ferriss asked, but is something that Peter Thiel... It's basically like this well-known Peter Thiel quote.
So, could you repeat that again?
What's an important truth that you know to be true
that
very few people agree with you on?
So, I guess I can answer this through personal, wherever I want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, I'll use my goal setting as an example.
Right.
I have quite shallow goals if you look at it, if you really think about it. But I know that they're shallow, right? And I have these conversations with people who tell me, but it's so shallow. But I'm fully aware of it.
Yeah.
But I don't care because for me, those are the things that I want to achieve.
Right.
Because I find it interesting where people, when you ask them what their goals are, and they're like, I want to build this company that helps feed these people and, do all these magnificent things. And it's interesting, but they don't have a plan for it.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have these shallow goals that I have a plan for and achieve it and then think about other things while I'm,
Well, maybe you're just focusing on the realities, whereas people are just distorting their realities.
And that's where I know that it's true. They're being true. Or I guess, I know that I'm not being, true to myself in terms of setting those goals that are not high enough. But they disagree.
At least you know they're real and achievable.
Yeah, but they disagree on that. And
Yeah.
I find that interesting. Where, like questions, like career questions, like, I just want to be happy in my career. Well, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're 27, pick up your game or figure it out. Because you answering a question about, I just want to be happy, you're not going to be happy. Have you got a plan?
Yeah.
No.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and then I'll just put a dollar figure on my next thing or a certain career move that I want to make, and it's going to give me some benefit, like a mentor or some kind of learning curve that I can go through, and I'll just put that as my goal.
Yeah.
But I would not say that I need to save 100 people or just be happy or, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know that it's true that in the end I need to be happy,
Yeah.
but that's not the goal.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah, and that is the way I'm going to answer that question.
Yeah. When you think of success, who first comes to mind?
Ooh, it's a very good question. Right now, I would say a lot of business people who leave their long, illustrious careers and then go to something really interesting. That's success to me. A lot of musicians who actually do what they love. That is success to me. Because I love the pursuit of being a musician for some reason. I just am so enthralled by it. Because how can someone give up so much of time for such a simple thing, and in the end that simple thing makes them who they are?
Yeah.
A little noise that they can create on some guitar strings, and that is what people want and what they can do. And to give up 10 years of practicing non-stop, that's amazing.
So maybe your version of success is focusing on something that
is so unique, but pays off at the end.
right.
And I guess that is, and then they're so happy throughout the process. They've been happy throughout the process as well.
Yeah.
You know, there's not been a moment. For me, that is success. Also, success is not linked to money anymore for me. Success is how happy you are.
Mm.
So, and that's what I found out even at Tony Robbins conferences. Those were, you know, there were 95% business owners there and 5% corporate people.
Really?
And those people are just so happy. And they're not running big businesses. They're running, you know...
So 95% were business owners.
Yeah.
And they obviously have some form of money.
They've got money. They're there.
Right.
But, yeah, it's interesting how 50 of them were at least Instagram models as well. You can see them.
Right.
With the yoga pants on. But, yeah, but look, they're happy as well.
Right.
And happiness can be, you know, anything.
Mm.
And I guess the way I think about success now is, for me, especially in terms of what I want to achieve, is having the ability to create a lifestyle that you want to create.
Mm.
And that lifestyle can be anything.
Right.
It can be as simple as, I'm going to go pick out some fruit, you know, from the market and cook it and take 5 hours to make a dish and serve it to my family or to my friends. And if that makes me happy,
yeah,
that is happiness. And now I can see life through that. I can see what my parents did and what my aunties did and how little things like that make you happy.
Yeah.
Like some older people just want to take care of children or grandchildren. That's what makes them happy.
So it sort of goes back to what you were saying earlier, is you being your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is me finding out what makes me happy and me figuring a way to fund it.
Right.
As well. Because I can't be...
You can't just do shit. Yeah.
You can't just
like
do
go
shit.
save 1,000 lives in, you know, some third world unfortunate country.
Correct.
You need the means to do it.
Yeah, I like
and
people...
the platform and...
Correct.
Yeah.
I like people who have all these ideas, which is great. But also, have you got a plan to implement that?
Mm.
And then we can talk about how it'll make us happy, or, you know, things like that as well.
Sort of reminds me of how it goes back to a lot of the things you've said. Like, I don't know if you know Richard Feynman, one of the most famous physicists that have ever existed. And one of the things he used to say was, like, they all want to know what the new thing is in physics, what this new thing we're trying to discover.
Right.
But no one ever asks, like, what is happening with that bee, you know, when it's on the flower trying to get that pollen.
Right.
And the physics, you know, at a cellular level, what's happening and the beauty associated with that. It's quite interesting how the way you've spoken, it seems that just focusing on things that are enjoyable and happy, you know, you don't have to... I mean, it's weird because if you listen to people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's one of those big marketing guys, huge on social media.
Yeah.
Like, so many people these days are just so focused on being the entrepreneur, being the most successful person who creates the new Facebook, Snapchat, whatever.
Correct.
As opposed to just focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
And it sounds so cliche, but it's so simple.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
Because I figured out that if I was given $100 million, what I would do with it.
Mm.
And I actually felt, well, I'll do a couple of things with it, but I won't.
And then what?
It's just the same thing.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to pursue something else.
It sort of when did you have that inflection point? Because I remember you said to me a while ago that you were looking at buying a chair.
Yeah.
And it was like a $5,000 chair.
A $5,000 chair.
And you sat there and went, why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
It hit that point where... So
what
this was
going
about
through your head?
early this year.
Yeah.
Because a chair could mean anything. And like I said, I was researching all these things. And I saw this chair. And I just wanted to get it. But I didn't know why I wanted it.
Mm.
And then I knew that it was going to be a stretch as well. But then I felt, wait, I've done this in the past. I bought shit or had experiences that didn't make me happy.
Mm.
So why am I trying to do this?
Mm.
And that's when I thought, no, you know, change needs to take place, I guess.
Yeah.
and I need to work on myself to find what makes me happy. This can't keep going on.
Yeah.
And that's when I took a lot of major life steps as well. And I improved my circle. That's what I did. I hanged out with everyone I can without judging them.
Yeah.
So if you're just a relaxed person, I'm going to be relaxed around you, and I'm going to learn how to be as relaxed as you.
Yeah. I'm
not here to change you or make you more driven or, set goals in your life. That's not what I'm there for.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be, like I mentioned before, like a chameleon.
Right.
Just experience different situations and then see what I can take from it.
Right.
Or how I feel and add to those experiences as well.
Right.
That would, I guess, sum up a lot of...
Sum it all up.
Sum it all up. Like, being the $100 million man is... question is yourself. That's my answer to my own question, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, thanks.
Got a few more questions for you. What is the most interesting question that you've heard recently?
Yep.
And what was the answer? Whether you heard it through a conversation you were having with someone or you just overheard it.
I like a lot of people superior than me asking me questions like, do you think it's fair? When they already know the answer. And I feel that don't antagonize with, do you think it's fair?
So that's the question.
That is the question that I find really annoying.
Yeah.
Because you know the answer, you're making a decision on it. Then you're going to ask me for my fair opinion.
So you think it's interesting that they would even bother asking you?
It's a very put-down question.
Right.
Especially if it's someone who has more power than you in that particular situation.
Because you can't argue with it, can you?
No. It's like if we go out for a meal and I say, you drank more glasses of wine by half. Okay? Therefore, you should be paying it. So I'll be like, let's say the bill was $100 and I said, I'm just going to pay $40. Do you think it's fair? Right?
Yeah.
So I've already made the decision to pay $40.
Yeah.
Now, do I need to then ask you that question and then surface your emotions on it? I feel that it's very interesting behavior. Do you think it's fair? It can be used in any corporate situation, in your personal life.
It's interesting. Yeah. I've always thought that.
I feel that it's a play. It's like
it's like platitudes to like I'm being diplomatic, but I'm not.
No, I'm being a jerk, but I'm going to throw this out to see how you can make, like how you're going to handle this. I feel that it's nothing to do with diplomacy.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like I feel like they're just
saying
it for just showing show. Oh yeah, I'm diplomatic.
Yeah,
I'm diplomatic. Yeah. All right. What? I'm going to finish with this last one.
Yeah.
What's the worst mistake you've ever made? If there is one.
You want me to sum up or give you an example?
Give me an example.
Oh.
Or maybe you should just do both.
Yeah. So, I'll give you a good, sweet example here. The first girl who I ever dated, it took me 3 years from liking her to going out with her.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I never asked.
Right.
Or not going for it. And that would sum it up.
So not asking.
Yeah, or now it's one of those regrets that I always have, which is not asking or not going for it.
Right.
And everything that I do now, I'll always question that first. I'll actually see the outcome first of not asking and feeling that outcome and then go doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's something that I've kind of managed that. So it's not a regret anymore.
Yeah.
It's an emotion that I deal with, and then I kind of figure it out now.
Do you sort of use it now as fuel to say,
yeah,
I should always ask.
I feel the pain.
Yeah.
I associate it with pain immediately.
Yeah.
So it could be as simple as talking to someone new, or wanting to know someone better, or just getting the waiter's attention, or anything.
Yeah.
And I just quickly feel the pain, or not going for that opportunity, because every moment in my life where I've actually taken a jump, it's worked.
Right. So do you think that could be paired well with assumptions will make an ass out of you?
Yeah.
In that if you don't ask, if you don't discuss, nothing will eventuate.
Nothing will eventuate. And that is something that I've taken really seriously now, especially after going for Tony Robbins as well.
Yeah.
I'll immediately associate it with the pain.
Is that something that he focused on in that?
He focused on that as well.
Yeah.
But then I used that example and took it back into my life.
Right.
And I was like, if I didn't make that move, I didn't do that. That turned out badly, And then associate each time I took a risk, or I asked, and I made a move. It's gone well. There's never a moment where I made a move and it went shit.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
So the lesson is always ask.
Always ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, MJ.
All right.
It's been real.
It's been really
I think we've been
real.
going for 2.5 hours now, man.
Oh, wow.
This is a mammoth session.
It's good stuff. John.
If people want to get in contact with you, where can they find you on social media?
They can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I've got a good all-star profile on there.
Premium, of course.
Always premium. You can find me on LinkedIn at Michael Jayaranjan.
Yeah.
Of course, my spellings will be...
We'll link it.
We'll link it.
Yeah.
You're
on Twitter or anything like that? Instagram?
I'm on Instagram. It's dedicated to my passion of timepieces.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
What's your Instagram handle?
That's a great question. Let me actually check this. It's Michael_CJ.
Okay.
It's just me and my watches in different situations.
Yeah.
Or my friends' watches. That's about it. That's actually how I document interesting things in my life. I don't like photos of myself.
Yeah, same.
I feel like I've hit that stage that if I want to do something again, I'll just go do it. Yeah. I don't need a photo reminding myself that I was there.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right.
It's been real.
Thanks, Jordan.
Cheers. Before you head off, thank you for making it this far. It's been a real treat doing this. Like I said, make sure you head to Neuralle.com/podcast to learn about our prizes. Sign up to our weekly brain food called the Monday Morsels at Neuralle.com/signup. That is NEURALLE.com/signup. Leave us a review. It's really important to us that we can get quality reviews and build feedback as to whether to continue with this. Check us out on Facebook at Neuralle, NEURALLE. Until next time, speak soon.